Everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Really excited to be live today on the channel for the 2023 NBA Draft Lottery, and today is the day. It's finally here. We're going to figure out where Victor Wembanyama will be playing next season. Tonight is the night. We'll also see the rest of the NBA draft order as well. So if you're a big-time NBA draft junkie like me, you're not only just sitting here excited for Victor Wembanyama, but you're also excited about who gets picked 2, and maybe if a team in the top 4 falls down a little bit, how does that shake up some of these mock drafts? There's going to be a lot that comes out of tonight, and I'm really excited. I hope you guys are as well. Wise citizens, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you back in here. Also, shout out to Jake the Snake 21. He says, "Give my Blazers one, LOL." Michael here says, "Nope, he's going to be in Orlando, obviously." Cameron Cox and David Burke, 2 big-time Blazers fans, always commenting on the channel. They both say Blazers as well. E. Smith says, "Hoping my Pelicans can somehow get a top 4 pick." That would be absolutely crazy. The Pelicans loaded with young talent already. If they moved up into the top 4, put them in a very unique situation in terms of talent acquisition, opening up some potential trade avenues for them as well if they wanted to go out and make another big-time move, maybe a Damian Lillard type, right? Bam here says, "Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you." That's awesome. A little song reference there. Kino Asia says, "Good morning. Birthday was yesterday. Hoping for that birthday Wizards luck." Let's get some Wizards hype down in the chat. I know my other viewers are going to say, no, we want him here, there, or somewhere else than Washington. Dude, Washington needs him, though. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Y Citizen says, "My Rockets just need top 3. Top 3 would be really good for them. I think top 2 is where it's really at, though, for the Houston Rockets." David Burke says, "You know it's getting some hype for Rip City." Van Strife says, "Go Pacers." Everything I have touched in the last 5 days has turned to Pacers gold. Every single lottery simulation, for the most part, that I've been posting on Twitter has gone to Indiana Pacers moving up into the top 4, and most times they've been in the top 2. So if you're a Pacers fan, you probably want me at the draft lottery. I know some of you guys have been commenting that. But David Burke here with the Rip City, and Bam here saying, "Pray for Vic." Obviously a big-time Rockets fan. Victor Wembanyama would really shape the future of Houston Rockets basketball. Frogger says, "Is today the day that determines how long Luka stays with the Mavs?" No, I think so today is the day that could be redemption for Dallas. As you can tell, I'm wearing my Los Mavs shirt, trying to get some hype in here for Dallas, because even though I've been really harsh on the team, they are my favorite team, so I'm obviously hoping for them to move up, but they don't really deserve it. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Dallas, because they're not really in a spot where I think they're going to move up. They only have a 13.9% chance to move up into the top 4. But if they do, it probably saves Luka's tenure in Dallas. If they don't, then the day that determined Luka's stay was the day they traded for Kyrie Irving. Jacob here says, "My prediction is Spurs at 1 and Rockets at 2. Funny enough, Jacob, let's get my prediction on the board right now. Here it is. This is what I predicted last week in a video. My prediction: 1 was San Antonio, 2 was Houston, 3 is Detroit, and 4 is Indiana. That is what I foresee. Again, this is just, it's pure vibes right now. Last year I did the same thing and I was way wrong. So this is not like anything definitive. Like last year, I didn't think the Magic were going to be picking top 4, and they got the first overall pick. This is obviously just conjecture, whatever. Just have some fun with it, right? Mr. Ray here, big-time Pistons fan, says, "Pistons first overall pick. Speak it into existence." We got to manifest. Let's manifest it right now. Comment down below where you want Victor Wembanyama playing next season. Let's get some of that hype comments in the chat. Aragon here says, "Is there any chance that picks 1 or 2 will be traded before the draft?" Definitely not pick 1. There are a couple teams I think would consider trading pick 2 for the right package, although I'm not exactly certain as of right now. Let's say like Dallas gets pick number 2. Would they draft Scoot Henderson, or would they try and trade that to, say, Toronto for maybe a combination of Pascal Siakam and something else? Maybe, right? That's I think one of the big questions. Gremlin here, who's a big-time Spurs fan, by the way, says, "New Orleans should get the Jazz name back. Ain't nothing jazzy about Utah. Pelicans, such a bad name." Interesting thoughts. Pelican is the state bird for New Orleans, for Louisiana, obviously. So, I do agree, though. Jazz just makes more sense for New Orleans than it does for Utah. Michael here says, "Will you be streaming the draft lottery itself tonight or just covering it? I need a way to watch it." So I legally cannot put the actual video from the draft lottery on screen because of copyright issues with television. I actually work in television. myself, so I can't legally do that. I would love to, obviously, but I can have the audio, so you'll definitely hear the audio for it tonight, and I'll be just covering it myself. Like to be honest, watching the draft lottery, all you really need is the audio anyway, in my opinion, because you'll hear, Mark Tatum will open the thing and he'll open the envelope and it'll show the team and you'll say picking fourth the Detroit Pistons or whatever, right? So that's how it'll work. So I mean, I hope you guys come here for it. I'm not going to actually have it on stream. You might be able to find some illegal way of doing that, but I don't recommend that because you never know about like viruses, that kind of stuff. And then also just some people get their channels banned by doing stuff like that. So I'm not planning on doing that. Out of Prime says, give me that hot sauce, Victor. Victor to Chicago is inevitable. Definitely something to watch for. Victor to Chicago. The Bulls, if they don't move up into the top 4, end up losing their draft pick completely. So there's a lot riding on the line here for Chicago this draft. E. Smith says, I don't know why, but I have a feeling Victor goes to the Bulls or Spurs. Macarian Ortiz here says, imagine Hornets get it. LaMelo and Victor would be definitely very, very fun. Daquan here definitely cheering for the Hornets to land that first overall pick. Jake the Snake getting some Rip City in there. Wemby to Houston is what Wise Citizens is feeling. Alex wants to know if I am streaming later. I am streaming later. My plan is today to stream for about 3 hours right now. 2 to 3 hours, somewhere in there, just depending on kind of the vibes and how we're doing with this. We're going to talk through a lot of different draft lottery stuff. We're going to simulate the lottery quite a bit today too. I could go ahead and put this on the screen right now as well, just for a little bit, just so you guys get to look at kind of the top 4 odds. If you look on the right here, if I'm circling it, hopefully for you guys, top 4, you can see the percentage chance that a team picks in the top 4. And then you can also see their percent chance at picking first overall tonight as well. So just keep those in mind as you're watching today. But yes, I will be streaming later as well as for a few hours right now, just to get some hype, because this is always one of my favorite times of the year. Mr. Papercut says, Wemby to the Spurs. The question is, who gets second? Like I said, I think it's going to be San Antonio, Houston. I tweeted back in January that I think the NBA draft is going to run through Texas, but maybe the Mavericks make a surprise appearance in there, right? Sammy here says Orlando getting the first pick back-to-back years. Definitely would be interesting. Phantom Red here says Wembanyama to the Spurs. Jacob says, I also have a feeling that Wizards and Magic might move up, and maybe even Portland too. So interesting. Wizards definitely need help moving up. The Magic moving up would be scary, and Portland moving up gives them some really good either trade bait in a move for, say, a Pascal Siakam like we talked about earlier with the Mavericks. I think the Blazers would also consider something similar. Otherwise, they'd look at maybe a Karl Anthony Towns as well as something opened up there. Big J here says, bro, can you interview for my Wizards GM job? By the way, we taken Anthony Black or Casey Wallace. I want Whitmore. Let Beal run point guard. Whitmore, his ceiling is really, really high, but you know how much I love Anthony Black. I think Anthony Black's going to be a really, really good player in the NBA. I think Casey Wallace will be too, in a very different way, a little bit more defensive. I think that Black's got a higher ceiling than Wallace, though. All right, moving into our next comment. Also, big time shout out to Big J. You see that little symbol next to his name? That means he's a member here on the channel. Really, really appreciate it. It's a good way to help support the channel. Just, helps me continue making content, because on top of YouTube, I do have a job that I actually work, and I also coach at a high school. So I do a lot of different stuff. YouTube's my favorite thing to do, though, that and coaching. My job is fun. My job is good. I work in TV, so it's not that bad, but Nate here says, do you think OKC or Utah could use all those picks they have to try and move into the top 5 if both teams don't land in that area? I think it's a little early for Utah to do that. I think Oklahoma City, since they're a little bit closer to really competing and maybe even pushing for playoff series wins, that makes a little bit more sense if there's a guy that they're sold on. But otherwise, I don't see Utah necessarily making that move. I know that's, probably who you're most curious about, because you have the Jazz as your profile picture. But Nate, I don't necessarily foresee Utah doing that as much, just because I think Utah should probably practice patience and just wait, because I think a big thing for them is they're going to try and make a big swing at a star down the road. You're hearing reports on Luka Doncic potentially going to Utah at some point. That's really the one that makes the most sense in terms of the timeline that would fit around Laurie and Kessler. But I think that they just need to take a strong, solid, steady approach instead of pushing their chips in already. Frogger here says, with this being such a big draft lottery, will it be rigged? I have a pretty strong confidence that a small market team is going to get Victor Wembanyama, is what I'm going to say. YNCQ, do you think there's a chance that Brandon Miller falls down to 4? I do think there is a chance. I think that Amen Thompson is going to impress a lot of people, but I don't think it's super likely. I just think it would take like a really specific situation, like a team that really needs a point guard being at 3, say like, maybe a San Antonio, if they stick at 3, and then you would assume Victor and Scooter both off the board. Does San Antonio prefer Brandon Miller, or do they actually just take Amen Thompson over him because he's a guy that has a little bit more of a skill set that they're looking for, probably in terms of being able to get downhill and create for others? Sam here says, I'm preparing myself for the Pacers to fall to 9. I'm hoping for Indy that they don't fall. That would be really, really sad. Rod Love says, got to get that Wembanyama Pistons jersey. I have a nice Jaden Ivey one already, so I wouldn't mind throwing another one in the collection later on. Let's go back to Sam's comment here real quick too. I do want to point one thing out about Indiana. Over the last 5 years, the team with the 7th best draft lottery odds has moved up every single time into the top 4. So I think, if you're a Pacers fan, you got to be hoping for a little bit of continuity there. Brandon here says, I just hope Detroit doesn't fall all the way to 5, I swear. Tankathon hates the Pistons like 75% or 4/5 of the time. Yeah. Light Skin Disgrace says, tell me what happened the last time Chicago had a 1.8% chance to grab the number 1 pick. The Bulls have had pretty good luck in the past when it comes to jumping up to number 1 when they're not really in a prime position to do so. If you, Derrick Rose. Ryan here says, what's your thoughts on Ja the Gangsta? I hope that he figures out what he's doing with his life because, even though he technically didn't do anything illegal, I just don't think, flaunting a gun around is really the best way to handle being a superstar point guard in the league. So I just hope that he figures out what he's trying to get out of his career. And I don't think his recent decisions have really showcased that he wants a lot out of his NBA career, to be honest. Alex says, if Dallas moves up to number 4, what would they pick if they don't find a good trade? To be honest, I think they would settle on a trade. Even if it's just trading down and getting more future picks. Like if they, if a team wanted to move up for Amen Thompson, I think Dallas would like settle for a trade. They'd say, okay, like let's say Washington wanted to move up to 4 or something, and Washington's picking, say, 9th. They'd trade 4 for 9, and then they'd maybe get a future Washington pick or something like that, right? There's ways that they would go about that. I just don't think sitting there and taking a guy at 4 would really be the answer. But probably wouldn't be Amen Thompson. Maybe it would be Jarris Walker. Taylor Hendricks, maybe. That's probably the highest Taylor Hendricks could possibly go. Brandon S. says, one of the Detroit beat writers has been saying if Pistons fall to 5, they'll seriously consider trading it. Who would be a good partner for Detroit if they fall to 5? That's an interesting topic. I think Utah would be interesting as like a team that could maybe look to move down, because we've seen Utah and Detroit work out a trade in the last 12 months, the Olynyk and Bogdanovich trade. And that would be like a similar deal to what I was just talking about with Dallas, where they'd probably move 5 for a pick that's still in this year's draft. So say Utah's picking like 11 or 10 or whatever, then it would be 5 for that pick and then a future asset from Utah if Utah really likes a guy, if that gives them an opportunity to move up and get a player that they really, really like, which is, I think, an interesting thing. Everyone Needs a Smile says, if a team at 2 legitimately prefers Miller or Amen, what would they take to trade down? A team at 2 is not going to prefer Miller or Amen Thompson. I know Jonathan Givony for ESPN has been saying all year that, Brandon Miller is making a run. No, he's not. Don't listen to that. Okay. Scoot Henderson's the 2nd overall pick. If a team at 2 wants to trade, they're trading it for like a proven star. They're not just trading down a pick or whatever to get Miller or Amen Thompson. Like if the Mavericks got 2 and thought that they were better off trading 2, which I don't think they would be, but that's what they'd probably believe, because Dallas does everything wrong, in my opinion. They would trade 2 for Pascal Siakam and maybe get a little bit more from Toronto. Like that's kind of what I would see happening. Clutch here says, I mean, the way they go drawing now, the ability to rig it would be hard as heck. Yeah, I don't really think the lottery is going to be rigged, honestly, but I do think a small market team is going to get Wembanyama. Stay says, hi from Japan. Welcome to Utility Sports. Glad to have you here. Kanishka says, Houston will get first. They have a history of signing overseas big men like Yao Ming and Hakeem. Yeah, Houston has been kind of a hub for foreign big men. We'll see what happens, though. Robert Lamison says, Thunder might have some lottery luck. That would be terrifying. If the Oklahoma City Thunder move up to number 1, I don't even know if we should play next season because they're going to win. I know that sounds kind of crazy and like an overreaction, but the amount of internal development this team has seen year over year, plus what I think Jalen Williams is going to become, plus the addition of Chet Holmgren, plus the addition of Victor Wembanyama, they would probably be one of the best teams right away next season. Brady Thompson says, yo, welcome to the stream, Brady. Glad to have you in here. Ryan says, agreed, Sheldon. Jeremy says, think this will be Rockets' turn for first pick after getting second and third pick with the worst records both years. That's the issue, though. The lottery doesn't work like that. It's just raw odds. So I know, like, mindset-wise, it makes sense of, they haven't had their turn to pick first yet, but they might not ever get it, to be honest. Joshua says, yeah, Dallas needs more role players. I would trade down for more picks. And I think the big thing is just reopening flexibility because they've completely mishandled this entire thing for Dallas, where if they just didn't trade for Kyrie Irving and they just went into this postseason and let this pick convey to New York, they would have had 4 tradable firsts. They would have had 24, 26, 28, and 2030 as tradable first round picks, and they could have opened up massive avenues to trade for not only 1 star but maybe 2 if they pulled it off right. And if they were smart with what the Nets were reportedly getting offered for Dorian Finney-Smith this season at the trade deadline, they maybe could have traded Dorian Finney-Smith for a couple picks, and then maybe they would have had 6 tradable firsts this offseason. They did not do that, and they made their own decisions. Felix here says, Indiana prefers Taylor or Jarris. Yeah, I think both of those guys would be fantastic fits for the Indiana Pacers. Welcome, everyone, to the stream. Make sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this, too. This is kind of more of a laid-back stream. We're just talking about some of the draft lottery odds. We're going to go ahead and sim the lottery here in just a minute or so, probably in 2 minutes here at 11:20 Central Time. But Robert Lamison here says Doc got fired, and this was pretty inevitable, I think, from the way that the 76ers lost. You know, I think that there was a lot left to be desired there, the way that they closed the series, or should I say failed to close the series. And, you know, people are going to say, well, the stars didn't step up. James Harden, Joel Embiid didn't, shoot well the last couple of games. Then, I understand that. But as a coach, your job is to get them open looks and not just say, hey, James Harden, you're really good at dribbling the basketball. Go get an open look for yourself. Or, hey, Joel Embiid, you're really good as a post-up player. Just go shoot over guys. That's like, I'm sorry, but that's not good coaching. I understand that teams try and take away some of the things you're best at, but really, is there really no way to scheme your best players open ever? I don't know. Doc Rivers seems to believe that that's not possible. So I think him getting fired was good for the Sixers. Cole here says, what's up? Welcome, Cole, to the stream. Cole's a bucket, everyone. So, let's get some Cole hype in the chat. He's been watching the channel for quite a while. So shout out to him. Cody Highwood says, as far as Emoni Bates, where's the best spot for him? Detroit or Dallas are the 2 best spots, I think. I really would love either of them. He actually highlighted those 2 of those 3 teams. The third team he highlighted was Charlotte, which I don't know if that's the best spot for him. But Emoni Bates, I think Dallas would be really good playing off of Luka and Kyrie. And I think also if you just look at Detroit, I think him staying in state is probably good for his stability as a person. So that's also something I would argue. Eric here says, Beat Writer said that Detroit was seriously looking to trade the Cade pick. It's all dumb. Yeah, I just wouldn't really worry about it too much. Like if they were to trade the pick, they would get like future assets for it. Like because falling to 5, I mean, like Jarris Walker is still a really good option for them. Otherwise, you could argue maybe Cam Whitmore even at that spot. David Gonzalez says, go Spurs, go. Let's get some Spurs hype in the chat. Andrew says, where does Scoot Henderson go in the 2021 NBA draft? So let me think here for a second. 2021 NBA draft. That was the Cade Cunningham draft. So first or second. Cade has a huge advantage on him in terms of like scout like profile because he had a good year at Oklahoma State, but secondly he is bigger. So you can maybe argue Scoot goes second that year, but he would for sure go before Jalen Green. There's no question about that. So second's like the absolute floor, but probably maybe first. I think there's a good argument for that. Pinkra, and to me, Scoot Henderson goes first last year, in last year's draft. So I think Scoot Henderson's a fantastic prospect. Pinkra says Charlotte never had number one pick. This is their year. Yeah. On that same note, my Mavericks have never moved up, so this would be a great time for them to do that. Eric says, hi from Germany. Eric, shout out to you. Glad to have you in here. David says, Wemby, the next Spurs international. Great. Definitely could see that. Roland says, welcome back. Good to see you. I know it's early yet, but are you going to be working on the rest of the draft between now and then? And your thoughts on where they're going to go? Yes. So I'm going to have a mock draft. I'm going to put this up on the screen too. Mock draft is probably coming out tonight. Worst case, it would come out tomorrow morning, but probably tonight. I got a lot of work that has to go into that, though, obviously, because I don't know the results of the lottery yet. But we're getting to that point here where draft lottery is going to be really indicative of what those mock drafts look like, and I'm really, really excited, honestly, for the day to be here. Clutch says Indy deserves one be so bad, never had number one, and have had to deal with Braun and injuries. Yeah, honestly, like LeBron James kind of ended PG's run there in Indiana. Chase says Mavs need some lottery luck for once. Like I said, this franchise has never moved up in their 43 years of existence. They have never moved up one time in the draft lottery. Could really use it right now. Daquan Davis says, I think Brandon Miller is something special. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to shoot the ball well. Michael says, I'm a Magic fan, but I can honestly say that I'm excited for any team to land Victor. To see what impact he has on a franchise is a dream for basketball fans. Exactly. That's how I feel. Like, would I love for him to be a Dallas Maverick? 100%. But wherever he goes, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm scared if he goes to Oklahoma City. I'm going to be honest about that because Oklahoma City is going to be nearly impossible to beat. But they're going to be, Victor is going to be just so much fun to watch. Spade says, what's up? D Brown also with a what up. Welcome to the stream, guys. Glad to have you guys in here. Casket Chris says, I think Anthony Black is the steal of the draft. One of my favorite players in the draft. He's on a short list of players that I would consider to be one of my guys, players that I really like in the draft and, just players that I believe in big time. D Brown says Pistons versus everyone. Alex here wants to know if I have any surprise picks for the top 10. I think Gigi Jackson could maybe slip into there. I don't think he should, but I think he could. I think that Ryan Rupert potentially could as well. Those are kind of the two surprise players that I could see. Otherwise, though, I think for the most part, my mocks have been fairly accurate up to this point. Kirk says Spurs rankings for me, Wemby, Scoot, Whitmore, Amen, Miller. Any lower than 5 is a bust of lottery. Interesting that you have Whitmore over Amen Thompson and Brandon Miller. I do understand some of the upside for him. But yeah. Dang here says pre-stream ad. I like the Jason Tatum commercial. That's good that you got that commercial. I don't choose the ads. YouTube chooses those. But I'm glad it's a basketball ad. That means that they know what we're talking about here on the channel a little bit. Roland Miller says, I agree with you, David. That's an interesting choice to have for sure. Get number 1 is going to be obvious, but anything after 2 is going to be somewhat of a crapshoot. Yeah, so 1 and 2 is like kind of the clear points of the draft. Chris Gomez says, yo, welcome to the stream. Zach Aldridge says something kind of major had to change in Philly, and there weren't many other options. Definitely Zach Aldridge, big-time Pacers fan, by the way. So let's get some Pacers hype down in the chat for him. I know he's been loving some of my lottery simulations out on Twitter. Maybe I'll do one right now live on stream at some point. Roy Dar says, I think getting Matisse Thybulle for the mid-level exception would be great for Dallas. I don't know. I don't really like Matisse Thybulle that much. I think he's like solid. Like, does he give Dallas something they don't have? Yeah, but I don't know. Brady Thompson says, as a Pistons fan, I'm hoping for Brandon Miller or Victor Wembanyama. Clearly the two options that make a lot of sense for Detroit in terms of their current roster and what they don't have. Hobbs here says Wemby ending up in Dallas would be the biggest plot twist ever. Yeah, I would have to eat all of my words because I've been calling Dallas completely idiotic for the last, 3 months now. Like, if it ends up that they get Victor Wembanyama, I just have to eat all my words and say, look at this, they're geniuses. The sad thing, though, is you look at that top four, they had a 13.9% chance of moving up into the top four and only a 3% chance to get Victor Wembanyama. So, like, for me, if that actually happens, then, like, big kudos to them. Like, wow, they're geniuses. But, like, they're actually just not. They just get lucky kind of thing, right? So, it is what it is, but that would be a huge plot twist. Zach Aldrich says Indiana wouldn't be bad. Yeah, Indiana would be awesome for Victor for sure. I think that Victor going to Indiana would be insane, to be honest, with Halliburton. Habit says, I really need the Pistons to land this number 1 overall pick. I really want us to get Victor. If we get the second or third, I wouldn't be mad at Brandon Miller. Scoot would be awesome, but we have our guards. Yeah, the one thing, though, is, like, yeah, I know a lot of people have continuously said, well, like, a part of the reason you love to have Cade Cunningham as, like, a guard is because he's bigger. But the thing is, you could take advantage of that and say, look, we have a player who is wing-sized with a guard skill set, kind of similar to Jason Tatum. Not that he's going to be Tatum or anything, but, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, Jason Tatum kind of plays like a guard, but as a wing. Why does Cade Cunningham just not play like that? And then you just draft Scoot Henderson, and then you have 3 ball handlers that are all fantastic. Like, I think that there's a lot of ways to overthink it. Like, I understand Scoot Henderson's not probably as quote unquote as good of a fit in Detroit as, say, a Brandon Miller, but, like, he's just a better player. So I would still take Scoot if I was Detroit and got the second pick, but I think that's where, like, there's going to be a lot of drama about what's going to happen with the draft. Is if Detroit gets 2, there's going to be a lot of questions about what's happening. Cole here says, big Jarris Walker guy. Yeah, me too. I really like Jarris Walker. Mel says, you do a great job and appreciate the time and effort you put into your videos. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I was so upset because yesterday I was supposed to have a San Antonio Spurs mini mock come out. I recorded it 3 separate times, and for some reason my audio just was not functioning the way that it's supposed to. In my recording, I restarted all my stuff, was doing some, tech shooting, problem solving kind of stuff, and I just couldn't get it to work. And then I just let my setup sit for like 8 to 10 hours, and I came back and recorded a different video, and all my audio worked. So it's kind of frustrating because yesterday I recorded for about 2.5 hours for a video that didn't even get posted because it just never worked. So kind of a bummer. Avery here says that would be so fun. I'm talking about Wemby to the Pacers. Mel wants to know, will I do a second round mock and discuss potential undrafted players? Yes, I will at some point. I've been waiting kind of mostly for the actual draft lottery to settle in because then from there you can really get good, strong consensus on, like, hey, this is who they'll probably take first round. And then you can go into the second round and say, look, they've already drafted this. Maybe they look for this. Second round becomes a lot more of a, not crapshoot, but, like, harder to project. Brandon here says, who is going to be this year's standout role player, and are they going to the Pels again? So yeah, Dyson Daniels, like, everyone thought he was going to be a star, which I never saw. I thought he was going to be kind of exactly what he was this year. I think, like, Anthony Black to me is a better Dyson Daniels, so maybe that's kind of who I'm looking at. Mel says, would you like to discuss with the new CBA rules, how will organizations in the middle respond as far as embracing the luxury tax instead of trading off good players? Yeah, we'll have videos out on the channel at some point in time about the CBA for sure. Spade says, if OKC gets Wemby, then they get a super team coming in the near future. Yeah, and they'd still have picks to potentially line up for a big-time trade for a superstar if they wanted to. So, like, they could really have, like, Shea, Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, Victor Wembanyama, Lou Dort, and then still add, like, a star to that team. That's how good that's, like, they're just so set up. So it's kind of crazy. Van Stripe says, always nice to see fellow Pacers fans. And we got a lot of nice Pacers fans in the comment section. Tyler Carver says, love the content. I agree with you that Spurs will get number 1. Make sure to leave a like on today's live stream if you are enjoying it. It just lets me know I'm doing a decent job here. It makes me feel pretty good knowing that you guys are at least enjoying the content a bit. Ray here says, if you're Dallas picking at 2, do you pick Scoot or trade back to take Brandon Miller? I would draft Scoot and then probably try and facilitate a sign and trade around Kyrie Irving just because I would rather have Scoot Henderson for the next 10 years than Kyrie Irving for the next 10 years. So that's the way I would look at it. But, that's just my opinion. I don't think Dallas would do that, though. So because Dallas, there's everything that I think that they should do, which is all the things that I think would work out very well. Like a few offseasons ago, I wanted them to sign DeMar DeRozan to put around Brunson, Porzingis, and Doncic. They decided to sign Reggie Bullock and I don't even remember the name of the other guy right now. My brain is fried. Clearly, I can't even. Sterling Brown. I kept thinking Spencer Brown. I knew that wasn't right. Alex says, I don't think the difference between Amin and Asar will be big. I think Amin's a significantly better ball handler, which I do think makes a pretty big difference in their careers. But they do have similar physical traits and everything, so I understand kind of the outlook there. Josh here says that the Hornets don't have the first or second. Hope we get Whitmore. Whitmore's a really clear fit, in my opinion, with LaMelo. I think Whitmore would be really good there. Why You Bully Me says, I'm a Rockets fan, so I'm hoping for number one. Victor plus Green plus Harden would be a dream offseason. Yeah, that would be really, really good for them. I think that if you're the Rockets, there's some real pathways here to go from a really, really, really bad team only winning 22 games to maybe a playoff team, honestly, if this goes right. Jared wants to know, are you going live during the draft? Yes, I'll be live during the draft lottery tonight, and I will be live during the draft on draft night. So, yes. Here now, Kanishka is saying, do the sim. We are going to hit the sim right now. 3, 2, 1, and the first overall pick goes to the Indiana Pacers. Oh, my God. Everything I touch turns to Pacers gold. I can't believe it. Everything I touch turns to Pacers gold. The Indiana Pacers move up to number 1. Was only a 6.8% chance. And look at that, Chicago. You guys were manifesting it down in the comment section saying the Bulls, you have a feeling they're going to move up. Well, there they are. Pistons fall down to 3. Orlando falls down to 4. The Rockets move all the way down to 5. Look at this. 3 teams jump way up, which moves these 4 teams right here down 3 spots in Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte, and Portland, completely shaking up our the way we'd have to look at the draft. Obviously, this is just one simulation. Doesn't mean anything definitive. Brady Thompson says, I think Dylan Mitchell will end up being a huge deal with the combine footage already. Yeah, I've been talking about Dylan Mitchell all year long and how he should be a first-round pick, and most people have disagreed with me on that. I think he's going to be a really, really solid player. I don't think he's ever going to be a star, but I think he's going to be really, really good. Daquan says, next prospect, Ade Mara, draft pick, first overall, 2024. I think Matas Buzelis will be the first pick in 2024 as of right now. But Lloyd here says, should Portland trade Lillard if they get Wembanyama? No, I honestly think that they should just keep Dame and then try and win now. And then they have like the young core already in Sharp and Simons with Wembanyama to build long-term. I think if they get Wembanyama, it kind of bails Portland out here, because Portland's at a crossroads right now where they either have to figure out, do we trade Dame or do we keep him and then build around him? If you get Wembanyama, you literally can do both. You can build for the future and build for now because he's that good that it just kind of solves all their issues. William here wants to know who I think the best fit for the Pacers is. Outside of Victor Wembanyama, I think the actual clear best fit for them would either be Brandon Miller or Taylor Hendricks. I think that either of those 2 players would be fantastic. Zach here says, new CBA should cause an offseason of trades with low money needing to meet floor and high money teams needing to duck aprons. Yeah, I think this is going to just be a big offseason in general. I think there's going to be a lot of movement. IDLP says, I think Houston will get Wemby because of the bigger market. Interesting. I think Wembanyama is going to go to a small market. Cole Great says, like the stream. You guys heard him. Hit the like button. Thunder Bucket says, as an OKC fan, I honestly am just hoping that the Thunder use these picks to draft a really good bench. A lot of these playoff teams lack depth. OKC also needs to land one more star alongside SGA. I think for the Thunder here, you're hoping that you can add more shooting. I think that's really the thing that takes this team to the next level. I think Chet Holmgren is going to be a massive plus for them in a way that people aren't expecting right now. Because he, everything that they got from Muscala and Dario Saric this past year is like Chet Holmgren, but then you make it on steroids and absolutely insane and just so much better. The Thunder are going to be incredible. I think people are really underestimating the impact that Chet Holmgren's going to have there. The team had no rim protection. They didn't rebound the ball very well. And now they're adding a true 7'1" player into that who can also, by the way, shoot, dribble, and pass. I don't know. That's everything that you need. Sean says Scoot ends up like Dennis Smith Jr. next to Luka. Yeah, I don't know. I just think Scoot Henderson's significantly better than Dennis Smith Jr. So I don't know. Like, I understand like the idea behind that, like the play styles, that kind of stuff, but it's just not going to end up that way because he's just better than him. Habit here says, do you think Emoni Bates is a late first or second round pick? And if he falls to the second, do you think the Pistons should target him to use a second unit scorer? I definitely think the Pistons should target him, and I think they should honestly probably start him. If they get like Victor, and then they could add Bates, I think he could start as like a floor spacer for them. Now, it's going to mean that there's going to be a lot of defensive issues early on, but it is what it is, right? You're looking for long-term development. I think Emoni Bates should be like a end-of-first guy, like in terms of where I would actually value him myself, but I think he will be a second-round pick. So it's just there's a difference there from what I actually believe myself to what I think will happen, and I think he will be drafted in the second round. Andrew here says, need the Raptors to beat the odds. We'll see if that happens. Jordan here says, let's go. BS Express says, speak it to the truth. K Smart says, let's go Pacers. Mel says, is Dame finally done in Portland? I see no path where they can make a competitive roster. Getting the first overall pick would be a good start for them. James here says, Wemby to the Bulls. Aquino says, pick 9 again, please. No, I'm sorry, Wizards fans. I don't want to see it. Habit here says, boo Pacers. Ben Strife with the absolutely excited face, and then Zach Aldridge says, I'm buying your ticket to the lotto right now. Sorry, Hallie, we have a new rep. Yeah, Zach's been loving all the lottery sims because everything I touch just turns to Indiana moving up in the draft. Daniela here says, Wemby equals injury risk. Yeah, but the upside is so high that you don't even care about that. You just draft him and don't make a silly decision. Chase says, this would happen. Ray here says, how many sims for the Mavs to get the number 1 pick? We'll see. We're going to sim a whole bunch here during this live stream. I know we've only done one so far, but I just want to give it some time to settle. Ryan here says, Pacers fans probably wish you were in charge of the NBA. Honestly, let's make it happen. Victor to Indy. Let's make it happen. David here says, could you see Victor not wanting to go to a certain team if they get the first pick? Nope. I don't really see that because that's just not going to happen. Victor Wembanyama is going to be willing to play for any of these 14 teams because he doesn't really care like that. He just wants to go play in the NBA and he wants to be really good. Allie the Goat says, Fever got the first pick. Colts moved up to 4. Need some luck, man. Yeah, the Pacers here are probably going to move up. 128 says Wemby equals Porzingis 2.0. I just don't agree. I understand size-wise, and you might be concerned about injuries, but he's a lot more fluid than Porzingis ever was. He's a better perimeter player. He's a better ball handler than Porzingis ever was. So I just don't think that, Porzingis is the absolute floor for Victor Wembanyama. And that's like a guy who's been an all-star before. And had he stayed healthy, maybe it would have been an all-NBA guy. And that's Wembanyama's floor. I hope that I'm being very clear on that. Brandon here says, do you think the Thompson twins are an anomaly, or will some top prospects start considering OTE in the future? If they didn't have crazy athleticism, would OTE have hurt their chances this year? Yeah, I don't like overtime elite. I just think it's a terrible, terrible league that makes scouting a lot more difficult than it should be because you just don't really know who they're playing against night in, night out, and it just lack of actual game volume. It's just not good. There's really no set defense or help defense in overtime elite. So you have to look at you basically just turn on the tape and you say, I don't care what their numbers were. I don't care how many points per game, blocks per game. I just don't care about any of that. And you just got to say, do I believe in this guy's ability to dribble, pass, shoot, drive the basketball, and defend? And you just have to kind of not make an educated guess, but you have to really just dive into how they're moving and how they actually look as players, which is completely different. Ray here says, would you be happy with Kobe Buffkin at 10 for the Mavs? I think he's total package is a superstar in the making. Buffkin is very Brunson-esque, so if you're looking to replace that, maybe, but I think that they need some size and bigs who can defend and do different things. They just keep getting guards, and they wonder why it doesn't work. Mel here says, is a trade involving Ayton for Miles Turner possible? I'm sure the Suns would love that. I don't think Indiana should really consider it that much, to be honest. Spade says, man, I hope my Blazers get some luck. By the way, I do want to praise Indiana here for a second. Them signing Ayton to that offer sheet was just genius. I said this last year too when it all happened. Basically, Phoenix was in a spot since the Pacers had cap space where they were just screwed because it's either you lose your former number 1 overall pick for literally nothing, while trying to win, or you like match it and then you're paying him this stupid expensive contract that only really Indiana could have afforded to give him. And like because of that, now Phoenix is just kind of like dead because they have all of this cap tied into 4 players, and like they're not good enough to win a title, which is what I thought when they made the trade. Mel also says Doc Rivers just got the axe. Your thoughts? Good move for Philly. Stay says we need Miller, but also Wemby, whichever. Yeah. I mean, getting Wembanyama, you're not going to be mad about that one. Daniela says, what are the chances that any team that gets the number 1 pick doesn't take Wembanyama? 0%. There's no chance that Victor Wembanyama is not the first pick. Jeff Meyer says, where does Drew Timme go? Pacers need him. Drew Timme actually had a pretty solid start to the combine for himself, especially with some of his lateral testing. So because of that, maybe he does actually get drafted in the second round. Would be interesting. Josh says, I would literally cry myself to sleep if Dallas loses the pick, bro. We're just in such a bad place already. This would be like taking the Mavericks back. Yeah, it low-key would be, Josh. If the pick goes to New York, then they're just kind of screwed. So Zach says, I think Jarris is also a great fit for Indy. Playmaking in a Hallie Walker pick and roll is scary. Yeah, I agree with that too. I think, out of those guys, like I like Hendricks for Indy because of his rim protection a little bit better than Jarris in that regard. But Jarris is like more of a skilled offensive player, which is why, the more skill you have, the better usually. So I wouldn't hate that. Luca here says Chicago gets scoot like with Derrick Rose. Yeah, that would be what happens here in this this simulation. Mel here says, can you give us a sleeper in the top 15? I feel like if there's players who are being considered top 15 picks, they're not really sleepers, but I just think that like Anthony Black for me is the guy that I'm just higher on than pretty much everybody else. Ryan here says, I've noticed in a lot of your streams, Raptors fans are deep. I don't know if there's just a lot of Raptors fans or it's just a coincidence. No, there's a lot of Raptors fans. I love having my Raptors fans watching here on the channel. They're big time diehards. So shout out to the Raptors fans. Adrian says, I think Victor and the Spurs are a perfect match, and OKC should draft Grady Dick. I think Grady would be a really good addition to Oklahoma City, actually. I agree with that. Thunder here says, where do you see the Rockets landing in the standings next year? OKC has their pick next year, but it's top 4 protected. That pick will convey based on what I'm assuming right now. Now, like 12 hours from now, what I'm about to say might be completely null and void. But I think Houston could potentially get Victor Wembanyama, or let's say even Brandon Miller. Okay, so they get a huge upgrade to either their center spot or their small forward spot. They go out, sign James Harden, bring him back. That's an instant like 12 to 15 win improvement right there from the point guard spot because they'll actually be organized. And then they could maybe go get Dylan Brooks, add more to their wings. They could maybe go get a backup center in free agency if say they draft Brandon Miller. And they could go into next year with Kevin Porter Jr. off the bench, an actual head coach who knows what basketball is, and just a much better overall team composition. To be honest, I think the Rockets, if everything went right, if they get Victor, they get Harden, they maybe make a trade for Jaylen Brown. Not that I think that'll happen, but it's a possibility. Like, the Rockets could make the playoffs next year. I don't think that's like completely crazy to say. Last year I said that about Oklahoma City that, and this was before Chet got hurt when they landed the second pick. I said this team's a lot closer to winning than a lot of people expect because you can bet on internal development and just like having the right coach. Like Mark Daigneault is the right coach for Oklahoma City. Silas was not the right coach. I think Udoka is the right coach because you're taking a team that's been absolutely horrendous defensively and they're going to just fix a lot of their easy issues to fix because he knows what they're doing. He knows what he's doing as a coach, and because of that, they're going to just be so much better. So Oklahoma City, that pick's probably going to be anywhere from like, I think like 8 to, 8 to 16, somewhere in that range. Robert here says, do you think the NBA will copycat the NHL lottery because of tanking? I think that they like their current setup, honestly. Eric says, go Spurs, go. T Smart here says, Clippers trade for second pick if it goes to the right team. Interesting. I don't see the Clippers pulling that off. Brady Thompson says, will there be a second round mock draft upcoming? Yeah, my plan is to probably record a first round mock based on tonight's results, and then probably later in the week or maybe early next week-ish, record a second round mock draft as well. So that would be kind of based off of this most recent first round one that will come out either tonight or tomorrow. Big Al says Wemby to Orlando would be so fun for basketball. Live action Monstars lineup. Yeah, literally would be pretty crazy. Alfie here says Anthony Black to Washington. Is that a good fit? That's a great fit. Washington's in a tough situation. I think Anthony Black's one of the few players that like fits their current core while also still helping them out long term. William here says you're our lucky charm. We need you involved in the league for Pacers' sake. Yeah, that would be good for Indiana for sure. Jordan here says Pacers deserve the number one more than any other team. They're the only team that never tanks, and even when they do, they're so bad at it that they still stay competitive and win games just once. Jordan, I'm cheering for it. Right here with the donation. Thank you so much for the 2. He says, which team realistically trades Wemby for Luka? I don't really think there is one. And to be honest, I know this sounds crazy what I'm about to say. And I'm probably one of the biggest Luka Doncic fans on the planet. I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan myself. But if I got the first overall pick tonight, if I got the draft rights to Victor Wembanyama, why would I trade it for Luka Doncic? Like, why? And I know that sounds ridiculous, and I know it sounds absolutely crazy, and I understand Luka's, 4-time first-team All-NBA, this, that. I get it. And he's only 24, so it's not like the age thing's a huge – but there is a massive issue here, okay? Drafting Victor Wembanyama in 2023 guarantees you have him through 2030 because you're going to have him his rookie contract, which is 5 years. You're going to have him through restricted free agency. Even if he signs an offer sheet, you just match it. Keep him in town. The only real harm would be as if he signed the qualifying offer, which just never happens. Like you guarantee having him for 8 years. Whereas if you trade for Luka Doncic, 2 years from now, he could request a trade and flex that he's going to be a free agent relatively soon. So like while the player you could have had in Victor Wembanyama is still on his rookie deal, Luka Doncic could ask out, which is why I wouldn't trade the first overall pick for Luka, even though I love Luka Doncic and I'm higher on him than most people. Great question. Right. Felix says, same thought to OT. I'm scared of twins. I do believe in their talent and I believe in their physicals, but it's scary, right? This is a multi-million-dollar investment you're making. Mr. Papercut says, how important do you think it is for Wemby to play at the 4 rather than 5 to prolong his career? This is a great question. I think him playing at the 4 is best for him. So let's say Indiana did get the first pick. Like playing next to Miles Turner is a dream, because Turner's going to do a lot of the physical, like hard work stuff, guarding other bigs and having to box out all the time. I think Wembanyama is going to be best if he's like used as like a roamer, as a guy who guards corner shooters and just rotates all around and blocks a bunch of shots that way. Like, I just think, Wembanyama is a center because he's big enough to be a center. He's skilled enough to be a center. He's smart enough to be a center, but you should play him at the 4 to really maximize what he is anyway, in my opinion. So Zach here says that Ayton ship has sailed for Indiana. Yeah, I agree. Mel says, like your Kyrie take, I'm done on him, Embiid, and Harden. Interesting. I still think that there's ways that these three players can all make high impact, still like have high impacts in the NBA still. I don't want to be like completely out on guys. Like Kyrie's so talented, but you just like everything has like a price. Like, are you willing to give up first round picks for Kyrie Irving at this point? My answer to that was no. And then Dallas did that and gave up 2 good rotation players as well. So I didn't like that for them. Ray here says, if we lose this pick, at least we'd be able to trade 3 first round picks. Huffing copium right now. That's funny, Ray. Tyler here says, personally, I think Hendricks will be better than Jarris Walker. I feel he'll fit better with many teams in the top 10. Yeah, I think his fit's a little bit clear, which is why I like Taylor Hendricks too. For me, as of right now, Hendricks is higher than Walker on my board, but I do think Walker's just more skilled. So it's like kind of a weird balance of like, okay, I think this player is actually just more talented, but I think that Hendricks probably fits the NBA better because NBA basketball is not like YMCA basketball where it's just talent wins. It's like fitting players into a scheme. It's like a puzzle piece a little bit more. So, Andrew, I'd be careful about tweeting this. It would just look like you're on the wrong app if you were to tweet something like that. Goran here says, we the North. But Andrew, I do agree that Grady Dick would be fantastic in Orlando. Milo here says, thoughts on where G.G. Jackson might go. Oklahoma City right now is the team that I view being like the highest he would potentially go. But like maybe Dallas if they're like reaching. Blick says, do you think Grizz should start trading those first round picks or keep gambling and draft? I think OG Anunoby will land in Memphis, but I don't think John Morant's making that decision any easier. Nate here says, do you ever use Fanspo to do simulations? No, I mostly use Tankathon. It's just, it's kind of the thing I've used for a long time. So I'm just going to stick with Tankathon, but I have used Fanspo for a lot of different things. Fanspo is a really good website. So Club says, as a Wizards fan, I am praying for Amen Thompson. I think Amen Thompson to Washington would be really, really good. Dada here says, will it be streamed on YouTube? I'll be streaming on YouTube during the draft lottery. So yeah. Mel wants to know, with the new CBA, can you buy second round picks for cash? Not if you're a team that's over that second apron. So Chris says, do you think the Warriors trade the pick or actually draft a big? I think that they should draft a big. I think they should draft Trace Jackson Davis out of Indiana. He's like the best fit, honestly, in the draft for any player to any team. Like TJD to Golden State is the best fit. Coach Dreadhead says, can you see Portland trade the top 10 pick for more seasoned wing players to keep Dame happy? Yes, that would be actually what I expect. Dang here with the pause. We're getting a lot of funny pauses in here. Jason Liu says, prefer Wemby, but I'd reluctantly accept Scoot and Lively at 20 to Houston. Yeah, Scoot and Lively would be fantastic for the Houston Rockets for sure, Jason. Remember, IQ says, do the Clippers have a pick in the first round this year? Yes, they have pick 30. So you're going to be at the end of the first round. Dylan here says, you think Portland blows it up or goes all in one last time with Dame if they land Wemby? Regardless, I like their flexibility. Yeah, I think Portland, if they build around Dame, I'm scared, to be honest, about their long-term future. I really am. SJK wants to know what my opinion on Wembanyama's value is. Probably like one of the most valuable pieces in the league right now, like top 5 value. Colin Anderson says the NBA wants Victor to either Dallas, Houston, Chicago. The rigged lottery will show its true colors tonight. Neither Dallas or Chicago is going to move up. Interesting. We'll see. Ray says, if we lose the pick, it's time to think about trading 77. Yeah, for Dallas. If they lose the pick, then that's going to be kind of hard to sell Luka on being there long term, to be honest, because they're not going to have a lot of. Andrew here is trying his hardest to get me to say pause on stream, and yeah, non-ironically, he says. Club here says, are you a Koulibaly guy? I think Bilal Koulibaly is like a solid player. I think he's like a 3 years away type of guy for me. Like, I just really don't think for like half of his rookie contract he'll make any like high impact. But like a few years from now he could develop. Like for him, it's really hard because it's going to depend on where he goes in the development system that they put around him, honestly. So remember here says, is Monty Bates going to be a first round pick? No, I think he'll get drafted in the second round. Mirza wants to know when it's starting. It is starting in 7 hours and 6 minutes. Okay. That's how far away it is. This is kind of like a little preemptive stream before the draft lottery. We're going to have another one later today too. Kobe Buffkin to New Orleans. I could see that maybe. Cason Wallace to the Raptors. I think he fits the mold. Your thoughts and chances of this happening? I've liked Cason Wallace to the Raptors pretty much all year long. Clutch says, thoughts on Ryan Rupert and his range. Ryan Rupert offensively is about as raw as an uncooked chicken. I don't know. Like, he's really, really raw, but defensively, like, he's really active and he's got quick hands. And man, like, I think Ryan Rupert defensively is going to be really good really quickly. But I think, like, I offensively, I just have some real concerns about how he's going to impact the game, like, in a positive way. Interesting. Michael here says, not a Blazers fan, but if I'm Portland and I land Wembanyama, I'm trading Dame for more young assets and picks. I think you could go either way with that. Cole says, who says no? Golden State trades Kuminga to Dallas for number 10. Also, it'd be crazy if Mavs landed at 2 and traded Luka for 1 and started over with Wemby and Scoot. Okay, Cole, don't get my hopes up here. Like, I kind of, like, don't get me wrong. I'm probably one of the biggest Luka Doncic fans in the world, but Wembanyama plus Scoot together, that would be insane. I'm probably, like, glowing over that, to be honest, because that is absolutely insane. T-Smart says, I could see if the Pistons Blazers get the second pick, the Clippers could trade PG-13 for it. I'm praying this happens as a Clippers fan. I don't think that I think the Blazers would do it for PG. I don't think the Pistons would, though. So And here, Jacob wants us to do another lottery sim. So let's go ahead and hit it here. Let's reset the lottery. Remember, Detroit, 14% chance at number 1. Houston and San Antonio as well. I think a team to watch for here. I'm not going to say Indiana because they always move up when I do this. Let's see what happens with the Utah Jazz this time. Sim lottery. Wow, it was Washington. Washington moves up to 3. San Antonio gets the first pick. And Portland moves up to 2, just like we were talking about. Portland's second overall pick. What would they do with it? Do they draft Scoot? Do they trade it? Do they trade Dame? What would be the decision here? I think if I was landing in this situation, if I was Portland, I would say, see you later, Dame. Let's build around Scoot and Shaden Sharp and Anthony Simons. See what we can get for Dame. That's what I would do. But nonetheless, I mean, Detroit here falls. Sorry, Pistons fans. San Antonio up to number 1. Washington up to number 3. And Trey Young hater here says, ooh, I almost called him Trey Young. Trey Young hater says Spurs getting Wemby. Ray says, can you still buy picks for cash? You can. You just need to not be over the apron for it. Goyo says, I think after the second pick there will be some big trades. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of trade videos up on the channel over the next couple weeks as well. After we know the order. Icy says, what team support overall? I'm not really sure what you mean by that, but if you're asking what team I support, I am a big Dallas Mavericks fan. Zach here says, Tankathon is great, but their mock draft is kind of wild in most sims. Yeah, their draft stuff is kind of wild, but it's fun. I like looking at it. It's pretty clear and concise, and I've used it, so it's just like what I'm most comfortable with. But I do like Fanspo a lot, especially their trade machine. Fanspo's trade machine is so much better than ESPN's, so... David here says, who could the Spurs get in the second round? I mean, there's a lot of options right now. It depends really on where they end up picking in the first round. Derp here says, does height or wingspan matter more? It depends on the position. If you're looking for a point guard, I think height matters more because they can actually see over the defense and it gives them a wide variety of passing angles. If you're talking about like defensively, if you're a wing, then I think like wingspan maybe matters a little bit more, but height is also still important in that. I just think it's like a combination. It's hard to really value one more than the other, I think. Mantis on break says, go Pistons. Let's get some Pistons hype back in the chat. T-Smart says, I could see if the Pistons Blazers get the second pick. The Clippers could trade PG-13. We talked about this already. Zach says, Edie is going back to college. Yeah, he's sticking at Purdue, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw he was returning to Purdue. So, good for him. Josh says, Wemby plus Scoot would be Shaq and Kobe all over again. It would be absolutely insane. Ray here says Luka plus Wemby is greater than Scoot plus Wemby. Yeah, but if the Mavericks get the second pick, then it's Luka plus Scoot plus Kyrie Irving, which is a little bit more difficult to figure out how to win with, I think. Not that they would be impossible. They'd be really talented, but... Mel here says, if Denver loses the series, do you blow it up or run it back? I say the coach gets put on the chopping block. No, I wouldn't fire Malone. And I definitely wouldn't blow it up. Just try and make some small moves. I think that's the lost art in the NBA right now is like teams that have continuity. If you can just make small additions, small adjustments over time, like that, like get you better and better and better, you might just be able to win at some point. And like, I don't know. There's like right now the NBA is all about like, oh, blow it up or get a star. This like maybe Denver can just add like another guy that fits their rotation really well, and then they are just better. Clutch says, what do you think Pacers do with 26, 29? KP said he didn't. Kevin Pritchard said he didn't want to bring in 5 kids. Also depends on if Spurs jump to Houston to determine 32 or 55. So Clutch, I know exactly what they're going to do with these picks. I know the exact player it's going to be. Should I say it now on stream or should I save it for a video? Should I say it now on stream or should I save it for a video? Dorian Finney-Smith's going to be an Indiana Pacer. The Nets are going to look to remove stuff, get some more assets in the door. The Pacers here have multiple picks that they could look to trade, multiple second rounders. Would they be willing to trade 26 for Dorian Finney-Smith? 100% they would be. Dorian Finney-Smith perfectly fits what Indiana needs to add. The Pacers have cap space to bring in his contract. They don't even have to send money back out the door if they don't want to. Brooklyn could open up a trade exception while saving against their tax bill. And the Nets get a pick. The Pacers get a player that they like in Dorian Finney-Smith who fits their team. And oh, by the way, the guy that oversaw his development was Rick Carlisle. Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be an Indiana Pacer. It makes way, way, way too much sense. for me, and it's honestly been on my mind the last like 3 weeks. I've just been waiting to record a video on it because I wanted to wait post lottery to do some trade comments. Keezus here says, are you going to watch Wemby's last pre-lottery game? What time is it on? Because sometimes I miss like the notifications on when some of his games are starting because they start at like obviously weird times here in the States. So if you have the time for me, Keezus, I've watched a good amount of his obviously this year. Like I don't know, I just said Porzingis. Wemby for me is like he's been such a like sure thing in my head that I've been able to spend a little bit more time on other prospects, honestly. Like last year, trying to like look at the top 4 guys and really discuss number 1, who the best player in the draft was like a big like investment in time. This year I've been able to kind of do the inverse where I've been able to spend a little bit more time in the depth in this draft just because like I felt really confident about Victor and then Scoot 1-2. So Ty here says, should the Raptors blow it up? What are some potential trades you can see them making? We'll have videos on the Toronto Raptors. I think really the Raptors, to have a good idea on what they should do, it's going to really depend on what happens tonight in the draft lottery. Because if they move up, it completely changes the outlook. Mel here says, Utility Sports, press that like button. And make sure you guys smash the like button on the stream if you guys are enjoying. Bumba the Clown says, do you think the 76ers are going to trade Embiid away? I tweeted about this yesterday. Just a reminder, Twitter is in the description. We have a link down there. So if you ever have questions, you can tweet at me. You can direct message us there on Twitter. I respond to pretty much all of the DMs and everything in there. So I do really appreciate you guys for spending time with me here on YouTube, but also on Twitter. It's a really good way to communicate. And on Twitter, so links in the description, by the way, hit that follow button. But for the 76ers, I think if Harden walks away, Embiid maybe does look at the roster and say, what am I going to win with here? And if that's the case, he might request a trade. Now, I think Philadelphia is going to be very, very hesitant to actually trade him. But if a team were to get involved, I think that the New York Knicks are a team that I would focus on first and foremost because they have a lot of the draft picks that you would need to get into a conversation like that. I think you could look at Oklahoma City as another possible landing spot. I think that if you're Philadelphia, you'd prefer to trade him to the West than you would the East. But really, it's about getting the best package. And I think OKC could offer a better package than New York. But the big question for me is, will Oklahoma City throw in any of their young guys? I think New York would be willing to. RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes would probably be involved in that type of deal. Would Oklahoma City be willing to do that with a Jalen Williams or a Chet Holmgren? If so, then that's really the preferred answer for Philadelphia in my eyes. But is Oklahoma City willing to do that? And should they do that? That's a question to ask, right? Zach here says, almost certainly going to use 26 and 29 and trade potentially with 32 if we get it. That's exactly what I believe. Oh, Keezus. Okay, let people are asking for it. Let's get it on here. Let's get Fanspo lottery simulation. Is that what it's called? Let's see if I can get it on here. Okay, mock draft draft lottery simulator. Wait a minute. I don't know what I'm doing here really. So let me try and make this work. Okay. I'm gonna get this up on stream. Let's sim one more lottery here too, real quick. Houston picking first, San Antonio second, Orlando jumps up to 3, and Charlotte sticks at 4. The Pistons get hosed in this one, moving down to 5, which would be the first time that the team with the worst record moved out of the top 4 in this new lottery system, which is interesting to talk about. But let's see what this one says. Ray here says, is there a lottery pick that might fall all the way to the second round or late first, Jaden Hardy style? Not real. Like, Jaden Hardy wasn't really looked at as a lottery pick type player. But I don't know. I hope Dallas just ends up drafting like someone good this year. Here, T Smart, he says, who do I want the Mavs to take at 10? At 10, I would love for them to take Grady Dick. Like, the Mavericks just continue to have bad shooters try and shoot for them. Like, and they're like, oh, well, this guy can shoot better because Luke is passing the ball. Like, I don't know. It would be nice to have an actual sniper, but I wouldn't also be mad about them trading down and getting a bunch of other picks because, like, if they could get Dylan, like, if they traded down with Indiana to get, like, 26, 29, and 32, I know that's like a real loss on value from 10, but if that means you can land Dylan Mitchell, Amani Bates, and maybe, another player like Derek Lively if you move back up, like, I love that for Dallas. I would go that route if I were them, because I think that they need more than one player. But like, if they just stick there and assuming like Anthony Black's off the board, people are talking about Case and Wallace. The Mavericks need size, so that's. The kid here says, what if Pistons have the second pick? I'm curious if they choose Scoot or Brandon Miller. If they do go with Scoot, then Ivy definitely will be the sixth man. Also, I don't like the fit. I like Scoot in Detroit. I think he'd be good there. Chris says, yo, welcome to the stream, Chris. Glad to have you here. Texas says, I think Mavs should fire Jason Kidd and hire Nick Nurse right now. Do it quickly. Surprise everyone. Nick Nurse is a significantly better coach than Jason Kidd, so I'd like that. Cole here says, Leonard Miller thoughts. Leonard Miller is going to be one of those surprise players. If you want to talk about a guy who might get drafted in the lottery that no one's talking about as a lottery pick right now, Leonard Miller might be that player. He's had a significantly better year than what I thought he would have. A year ago, he was just kind of a joke of a prospect in my eyes. But now at this spot, he's actually really progressing and showing a lot of really nice upside that I just didn't see from him a year ago. So I'm happy for him that he's progressing that way. And let's go ahead and get over to our lottery simulator here. Now can I zoom out of this anymore? Is this kind of maxed? Okay. Well, let's sim it here. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but let's sim the lottery. Hopefully this is working. Okay, so we're sitting here waiting. Whoa, it's going. Okay. Orlando. Okay. Ooh, that means the Pacers jumped up. The Pacers. Oh my gosh, dude, everything I touch turns to Pacers gold. Holy cow. Gary here says Wembanyama just announced he doesn't want to be picked by Detroit. I don't think I saw that, Gary. I don't think that's a real thing, so I wouldn't listen to that. Avuki here says, how long till it's live? The NBA draft lottery is at 7 p.m. Central Time today. So we are roughly 6 hours and 50 minutes away or so. So we're getting closer and closer. I hope you guys are enjoying the content here too. Make sure to smash that like button if you are. Coach Dreadhead says, could you see Portland keep the pick and trade Dame to Sac without Kings moving Fox? I don't really think that fits for Sacramento. I don't think that they need Dame next to Fox. No More Kings says, Sheldon, I have a feeling Wemby's going to the Mavs number 1. Second guess is Spurs. No More Kings, if you manifest that for me, like, I would be over the moon. I would be over the moon. Calvin here says Texas gets the 2 best players in the draft. That's how I have felt about it for a while, to be honest. I think that Calvin is right here. I think that Scoot will go to Houston, and I think Victor Wembanyama will be in San Antonio. Josh says, also appreciate all you do in these videos. I know they are mad time consuming, but for real, dude, your content is excellent and your analysis is A tier. I appreciate that. I'm also really excited because over the next little bit, the graphics and stuff, I'm planning on upgrading my entire setup. I'm also going to be moving kind of into a studio for recording. So I've got a lot of big things planned. Putting a lot of work into the channel and a lot of stuff that I'm really, really excited about. Michael Thomas here says, Chris Murray would look really good in a Heat jersey. I love the depth of this draft. Will be a ton of lottery talents going in the second half of the first round. I completely agree with that. Doing the lottery simulation or doing the lottery portion of mock drafts is always like the most difficult thing because there's like 22 players I want to include in there. And I'm like, well, there's only 14 picks. But I do want to say as well that like I think there is a big drop off from the top 9 in this draft to number 10 in terms of at least like value and fit and that kind of thing. I think the top 9 is very, very, very strong, like probably an all-time great top 9, honestly. And then like from there, I think the rest is like good, but like maybe less good. You know what I mean? So Abe here says, I have to wake up 5:30 a.m. to watch the NBA draft lottery. That is pretty early. Zach here says Dallas moves back a bit, pick up value, and go with Hawkins. Jordan Hawkins could work. Like I don't hate that, but then you have to have Jason Kidd like smart enough to have Jordan Hawkins run off stagger screen. So I'm not sure if he's smart enough to do that. Fan123 says Luka and Wembanyama on the same team. That would be absolutely mental, and I'm hoping that it happens. Zach here says Chris Murray with one of Indy's late firsts. I think Chris Murray will probably be off the board before that, but I think what Indiana could do is if they don't make a trade for like a Dorian Finney-Smith like I talked about, then what I think they would probably look to do is package 26 and 29 to move up, kind of similar to what Oklahoma City did a few years ago when they moved up to take Pokashevsky. Minnesota was actually the team they moved down with. Minnesota ended up drafting Leandro Bolmaro and Jaden McDaniels later in that first round. They got 2 picks for 1, and now Indiana's in a similar position to move up for a guy that they like as well. The kid says Jet Howard and Maxwell Lewis will fall in the draft. They had lottery stock in the winter, but now they'll be late first. Yeah, Maxwell Lewis, I never bought lottery stock on him. I just didn't see it. Playing for Pepperdine, I just didn't ever feel that. Jet Howard, yeah, he had lottery stock. He has fallen a little bit. Michael Thomas says Mavs should trade their draft pick for some help. I doubt Kyrie and Wood resign, so that roster is going to be thin. I think Kyrie resigns. I don't think Christian Wood does. Don't know says, should the Magic use their cap space? Who do you think they should go for via trade and or free agency? I don't think that they need to use their cap space. If they do, they should go after shooting in my eyes. But I also think that there is some legitimacy to the rumors on them potentially targeting a Fred VanVleet, honestly. Zach here says, I couldn't have been lower on Leonard Miller last year, including his future, but his improvement trajectory has definitely been impressive. It has. Literally last year, I made a scouting profile on him, and I think I laughed during the video because I just couldn't believe that people were thinking about him as an actual draft prospect. Zach here says, when can you get to the airport? I could get there now. But, you know, the Pacers moving up to 1 is just absolutely insane. Best fit for the Miami Heat, I think perimeter shooting. Tariq Whitehead could be good for them. Chris Murray would be good for them. There's quite a few players that I think would fit them pretty well. Alliance Planet says, do you actually think the Pistons will win the lottery? No, I think the Pistons are going to pick 3rd, which is good. They'll get Brandon Miller then if they do that. Pine Online says, I'm an Oklahoma City fan, but it would be pretty cool to see Pacers get the number 1 pick. Pacers getting the 1st overall pick would be awesome. No More King says, like the stream fellas. Habit here says, you do one hell of a job with the mocks and keep us in the loop on all the prospects. I appreciate the content. Keep up the good work, bro. Yeah, for those of you who weren't here for last mock draft, like my final mock draft last year, I had the top 11 picks correct outside of Jabari Smith and Paolo Banchero being flipped between Houston and Orlando because, you know, there was like last second news that was kind of shifting. And I didn't really buy into that news as much as I maybe should have. So my very last mock last year was like really, really, really accurate. And I feel like I'm on kind of the same pathway this year as well. Just because the amount of time I put in, like, and I don't listen to outside sources really. I don't, you know, I listen to some things, but only things I trust. And Jonathan Gavoni's not one of them. So Guilty says, wait, is the lottery tonight? Yes, the lottery is tonight. Guilty. It is the most important night of the NBA season, honestly. Absolutely crazy. Atlanta Analyst says, yo, what's going on, my guy? Welcome to the stream, Atlanta Analyst. Glad to have you in here. Big time Hawks fan. Pedro says, possible Karl Anthony Towns trades. We will have those on the channel coming up in the next week or so, okay? Imagine Tyrese and Wemby. Yeah. Halliburton and Wembanyama would be insane. B says, you think there's a chance Taylor Hendricks is still there at 10th? No way, Jose. I thought so maybe like 2.5-3 months ago. And then the way he just ended the season was really, really solid. His shooting numbers got to a point where teams are going to believe in them. And his rim protection is really probably right there with Derek Lively for best college rim protector, which is impressive. Michael here says, Hawkins, Dallas might as well trade for a Hield if they want a shooter. I think that you could make a lot of arguments for Dallas doing a lot of weird things, honestly. Jack says, say OKC stays at 12 and we get whoever. How do you project Chet next year? Can we expect a Paulo level season from an impact perspective? More impactful than Paulo. And not that he's necessarily better than Paulo. I had him higher on my board last year than Paulo because I think long-term he will be better than Paulo. But it's not that he's going to score 20 points a game. It's not that he's going to average 12 rebounds a game. The point is he gives Oklahoma City everything that they're missing from the position that they're missing it. He's going to space the floor. He's going to shoot 35+% from three as a big man, which is fantastic. he's going to be really, really good in drop coverage. He's going to be able to block shots around the rim and at least deter shots around the rim, which is something Oklahoma City had nothing of this year outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander being kind of a chase down guy when riding someone's hip as a kind of a shot blocker. I think Oklahoma City, like, you add in like hopefully some size at 12 or like some shooting, and then you just have like this really crazy lineup that can play 5 out and space the heck out of the floor, and you can open up all of these driving lanes and get downhill. And oh, by the way, Chet Holmgren's going to be probably the best screen setter on the team. He's going to roll and he's going to be able to do stuff out of the short roll. Like I'm saying, like Oklahoma City is a playoff team next year. As long as Chet stays healthy, they are a playoff team. And not just like a playoff team that gets in through the play-in. They're going to be a top 6 team in the West next year. Like, I just don't really see a pathway that they're not, because Shai's going to get a little bit better. Jalen Williams will definitely get better. Josh Giddey has continuously gotten better since coming into the league. And then you add in this like freakish athlete player who can do a lot of different things on the basketball court. Like, Oklahoma City is going to be unbelievable. Brandon here says, I don't believe in Jett Howard. I'll be upset if Miami gets him. I mean, he's got a decent skill set for a wing. Like, I think he's solid. Felipe says Jordan Walsh could move up to a late first-round pick after the combine. Yes, I really do believe that's a real possibility, as well as Andre Jackson Jr. From UConn. I think both Walsh and Jackson could move up into the first round for sure. 128 Barat says, me from Turkey wants to watch Adem Bona in Dallas with Luka, but seems you're low on him. What do you think about Bona as a second-round pick? Well, Dallas doesn't have a second-round pick right now, and Adem Bona probably is a second-round selection this year. Like, Bona's solid. I just don't – it's really, really hard to rely on, like, a young big man to do a lot of really good stuff if he's not a generational-type player, because – centers have the most defensive responsibility, and it's really the toughest side of the floor to play in the NBA. So, I don't know. Roland here says, also, when you get a chance, take a look, or if you haven't already, at the Combine week at guys who got picked. Roland, I don't necessarily understand your comment fully. Maybe I just misread it. But for me, like, Combine week is important. It's not everything, but like Brandon Pajemski testing well in his vertical, I definitely think helps him. Is a good example of that. Mel, what is the most attractive destination if you're a coach? You can have Giannis, Embiid, Durant, or the Raptors. Milwaukee, probably. Philadelphia could be really scary in like a year, and not like in a good way, in like a way that I'm kind of scared. So, yeah, I don't know. I'd be a little nervous about that. Let's look at some of these other comments here. Joshua says, I wouldn't mind my team Oklahoma City to trade up. Michael says, OKC absolutely has to start trading some of these picks. Too much young talent and only basketball time to start consolidating and building around a core of Shai, Giddey, and Jalen. Sprayer here says, who do you like for the Pelicans? For the Pelicans, I think shooting. Jordan Hawkins or Grady Dick would be great for them. Atlanta analyst says, I'm really high on Bilal Coulibaly. I think that he can hop into a late first-round pick. I think he could be a late first-round pick, too. I'm a little bit less high on him. I think he's going to probably fall between 30 and 40 on my big board with where it's currently looking. But, I'm not quite finalized with that yet. I've got a few weeks to really edge out the details. I'll probably have a big board come out this week at some point, maybe next week, and then I'll have a final one come out before the draft. Mel says, if you love basketball, you have to hit that like button because I can tell this guy loves basketball and so do I. So show him some love and your love of basketball by hitting that like button. Yeah, you heard him. Smash the like button there. Do what Mel's saying. I'm a big-time basketball person. Literally all of the stuff I do in my life right now is centered around basketball. The place I work, the things I do on YouTube, and also I coach high school basketball. I'm addicted to basketball, and I play it a lot in my free time as well. So if you want to see clips of me hooping, you'll have to go follow my personal Instagram. Link is not in the description for that. Electric Edit says, Ja for Wemby. No. The team that would have Victor Wembanyama says no to that immediately. Cowboy Season said Wemby would be perfect for the Spurs. Milo here says, should Mavs consider trading Josh Green for a better wing? No. Josh Green is one of the only good young pieces that they have. Deshaun says, honestly, don't care who gets the number 1 pick. I just hope Houston, San Antonio, and Dallas end up 3, 4, 5 so the Thompson twins can get drafted in the same state. Interesting. Well, the 5th pick isn't done through the lottery, so you're going to need to have some things play out a little bit differently than that. Let's go ahead and hit another lottery sim here. Let's look at this comment here. Cobra Khan, if the Spurs fell to 5 and Wemby, Scoot, Miller, Amen, and Cam are gone, well, you have 5 players gone. So if the Spurs were at 5, they would not have one of those. I think Jarris Walker, though, would be in consideration. Mason Wright says, I wouldn't trade Wemby for anyone for Q opinion. I don't know what for Q means, but I wouldn't trade Wembanyama either. SJK says, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, and 4 firsts for Wemby. The team getting Wembanyama says no. Carl says, who in the top 10 is likely to be a draft bust? Like if G.G. Jackson gets drafted in the top 10, I think it could be a ginormous bust. I don't know. I think this year there's not really like a lot of bust players. Typically there's like at least 1 or 2 guys in the top 10 and I'm like, I wouldn't take him that high. And there's still room for that to like manifest and happen where a guy like climbs up. Like if Ryan Rupert goes in the top 10, I think there's like a chance that he could definitely bust. Like Cam Whitmore, maybe, but I don't know. I think Cam Whitmore is going to be still pretty good. So Electric here says Tyus Jones and Brandon Clark for 15 to 25. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. If I was Memphis, I would want to keep both Tyus and Brandon Clark. Texas Sports says, yeah, you were on point with the draft last few years. This channel is my number 1 stop for understanding the draft prospects. Yeah, last year it was a lot of fun. I think I'm really excited to watch Jaden Ivey continue to grow. Like if you look at his shot chart from this year, like I know he didn't have like as good of a season as a lot of people were hoping. Like the whole point of my evaluation on him was that it was going to be like a 2 to 3 year thing that like maybe by his 3rd year he really pops off and is like the guy from the draft. And like if you look at his first year, he struggled with all the normal things that most young guards struggle with, which is finishing at the rim, and that's like really going to become his greatest strength at some point because he can just get downhill all the time. He just has to learn how to play off of 2 feet and play a little bit more steady, and I think he's going to get really, really good. Papega says, would Detroit trade number 2 for Orlando's 6 and 10? No, I don't think so. Well, actually, that's actually not like the worst thing ever. Like if you're trading it for like say 7 and 11 or 6 and 11, whatever, like that's not terrible. It's really not that bad. And I do like this comment here. I need to find it again. I think it was Zach. Yeah, whoever goes 10th has the best chance. Yeah, like I agree. Like the 10th pick in this year's draft is probably going to be the worst pick out of the top 10. Like, and I know that sounds kind of like obvious because it's the last pick of the top 10, but like, I just feel really confident unless there's like something crazy that like right now I'm not expecting. Like right now, just off the top of my head, like it's Victor, Scoot, Miller, Amen Thompson. Like Amen Thompson could be a significant bust. So could Ausar. Like, I just don't know if I actually believe that though, that they will be. So I'm not going to say that they will be. Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, Taylor Hendricks, like Anthony Black. I feel really, really good about all those players. And like if Cason Wallace goes 10th, that's not a bust. Cason Wallace is going to be very good too. So, like, some of them are less franchise changers than others. Like, Cason Wallace probably doesn't change your franchise, but he's just, like, a really good player to have. Deshaun says, with day 1 gone, whose measurements do you think hurt or improved their stock? Jarris and Cam Whitmore were about 1.5 inches smaller than I thought they were, but Dariq Whitehead was taller than expected. I think Amani Bates, like, his wingspan being at 6'9", I know it's not a positive wingspan, but it wasn't, like, a negative one either, really, which I think helps him quite a bit. There's a few other guys. I'm going to make a video on all of the measurements at some point, I think, and really talk about all the prospects in a different way than I have so far, which is like more of a physical standpoint. Frederick here wants to know, wait, have the positions in the draft been announced? No, they have not. Let's simulate another one here. This is just simulations right now, Frederick. So let's sim once again. Let's see how this works. Does it pop up on these like little ping pong balls up here? I want to see. Oh, it does. Ooh, look. Oh, okay. Toronto, OKC, Orlando. Pacers did not move up. Charlotte moved up to number 1. Washington 3rd. And wait a minute. Oh, I didn't even see that. I saw Toronto at 14. Didn't even put 2 and 2 together. The Pelicans moved up to number 4. Wow. Spurs fall all the way down. Wow. Movement in this one, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. I would be surprised if something like that happened tonight. Here, Texas Sports says, I think Memphis may trade into the lottery. Interesting. You know, I could understand why they've made an aggressive move like that in the past. It didn't work out for them because they drafted Zaire Williams instead of Trey Murphy. But Frederick here says, bro, they hate for the Spurs is ridiculous. Yeah, well, I'm not controlling this. I don't hate the Spurs. In fact, if I don't know if you were here earlier or not, but this is my prediction for the NBA draft lottery tonight. I think it'll be Spurs, Rockets, Pistons, Pacers in that order. We'll see what happens, though. Alex Carr says, I feel like the Hornets are underdogs on getting the number 1 pick. Yeah, they are. Did you guys know you can actually bet on who will win the lottery? You can, there's odds for it. There's, betting odds, which seems like a really good way to lose money because it's just random and you don't actually know anything. But if you have a gut feeling, you stick with it. My gut feeling's been San Antonio, but I'm not putting any money down on that because I don't think I have any insight that would make me want to throw money at something like that. Abay here says, I think Golden State should trade up to the lottery. Interesting. I don't really know. ATG Rico says Tyrese and Brandon Miller is insane. Yeah, Brandon Miller would be really, really good with Tyrese Halliburton because Halliburton does what you want any guard to do, and that is drive the basketball and kick out to perimeter shooters. Zach here says, as a Pacers fan and Hoosier fan / student, I'm not ashamed to admit I was crushed when Ivy didn't fall to Indy. Love Mathurin, though. Ivy would have been awesome in Indiana. Just like how Mathurin is, though. I was really high on Mathurin last year, too. Pretty much all year long. I remember people... I had people arguing with me last year that Johnny Davis, when in the middle of the season when Johnny Davis was playing really great, that he should go before Benedict Mathurin. I was like, no, I don't think that should happen. And then, they're like, oh, you'll see on draft night. And then I got to draft night and Tommy Shepard drafted Johnny Davis picks after Benedict Mathurin was already off the board. So, it's just funny. I get stuff like that all the time. Josh here says, hey, back to your Josh Green comment. I know this is off topic. I never saw his leap coming this year. Do you think he'll make another leap next year? I want to say yes, but at the same time, it's hard to just predict that a guy, sometimes progression is just not linear. Guys just don't climb up a, chart that way. They don't just get better every single offseason. Part of why Josh Green played so well is because his shots were falling from the perimeter. To me, he's going to be a streaky shooter. So if he just starts out the year poorly, shooting from behind the 3-point line, then everyone's gonna be like, oh my gosh, Josh Green is, having a down year. Sometimes you just have to ride it out. I think Josh Green will be about the same player next year that he was this year, which I think is a very good contributor, which is why I don't think that the Mavericks should trade him. Goyo says, it almost seems unfair to every team that doesn't get Victor. It does, honestly. Even with how excited I've been so stressed because tonight's just gonna change the entire landscape of the league. Corey here says, lottery for the lottery, you say. Yeah, that's literally what it is. It literally is what it is. Abay says, I like Brandon Miller more than Henderson. Interesting. Electric Edit says, Trae Young for lottery pick. No, that's not going to happen. The kid says, if Dallas falls and Knicks get the pick at 11, who will they take? I predict Casey Wallace, Keontae George, or Jordan Hawkins. I think that the Knicks would trade the pick out to next year. They would trade it for a team that wants to move up to 11. And they would try and get more future assets to keep their trade flexibility alive. Otherwise, it would be for a big-time deal for a star player, honestly. Jolene says, any theoretical Raptors targets or trades? There's going to be a lot of Raptors discussion on the channel after the lottery because I think with what happens in the lottery is going to really shape up what teams could potentially pursue some of the Raptors players. And I think it would give us a better idea on what Masai Ujiri could potentially do this offseason when it comes to trading players or making some moves. K-Smart wants to know what a Kuminga trade looks like. I just don't really see the Warriors trading Kuminga. I know that there's some rumors out there right now, but it just for me, Kuminga, it'd be hard for me to be Golden State and to trade him right now. Just because I think out of their young guys, he's the guy that they probably feel the most comfortable with. But at the same time, obviously they're not that comfortable. Moses Moody played a lot of playoff minutes, but he did not. Which you might argue, maybe they're not confident with him. It's just Like sometimes like it's really hard to play young guys, for sure. Zach here says after year one, it's pretty obvious that Johnny Davis should have been the pick over Mathurin. Yeah, I mean, obviously, right? Like clearly that guy definitely was right, and I was so wrong. It's funny because that guy actually ended up going back to that reply thread, and just 'cause I was gonna go back there and see what he thought about his original take, and he had actually been like, dude, I was so wrong about it, which is pretty funny. So, that's the thing too. YouTube comments always seem like they're like, oh, we're fighting back and forth. It's just like sometimes you're just holding a position, you just believe something. Like, I like to stand my ground on stuff and like try and justify my position. It doesn't mean that I think the other person's stupid, or just like I think that there's a lot of room for a healthy disagreement, and that's probably the best way to look at basketball conversations in general. Not everything has to be like first take. Felipe says if Portland doesn't land with the first pick, they should trade for depth or move up Lillard and rebuild. I think they should move Lillard. Electric Edit says thoughts on the new CBA. I think it's a disaster, to be honest with you. I've done a lot of research into it. I've done a lot of work thinking through it, and pretty much anytime I'm doing anything in my life, I'm thinking about the NBA CBA for no reason at all, because I'm a total nerd. I've read the entire 2017 CBA, and I'm gonna get to reading this entire one at some point once it's like fully documented and published, which it isn't yet, which is why I've been waiting to like fully talk about it in a video. But I think that there's some good things in there, but I think a lot of the things were like just bad decisions that didn't make any sense. Like I just didn't understand why they didn't do some of the things. Cody here says, what do you think the Warriors do with Poole and Draymond? What do I think the Warriors do with Poole and Draymond? Trade Poole. That's what I would do. I don't like Jordan Poole as a player, though. Brian K says, can you do redrafts the past few drafts or rankings of players, just see how things are progressing? Yes, I could do that for sure. Let's we'll probably try and get those out in the next couple weeks or so. I might even take a picture of this right now with my phone just so I don't forget to do this. Oh, and my phone storage is full because it's got like hundreds of thumbnails in there. Whoops. David Schilling says if the Pacers stay at 7 then draft Hendricks, I'd be okay with that. Yeah, Hendricks would be fantastic for Indiana. Corey Jones, Victor to Memphis. Don't really see a way that happens. Teasery says Wizards need to trade Monte and a pick to get another young talent from this draft. We'll see. Deshaun says, who are you higher on, Kaysen, Nick, or Keontae? Keontae is my least favorite of the three. Nick Smith, it depends on if you need an offensive guard, then you're going with Nick Smith Jr. out of the three. If you're going with a rounded guard who doesn't need to be a lead guard, then you're taking Cason Wallace. So, to me, I think Cason Wallace is the safest of the three. Nick Smith Jr. has the highest ceiling of the three. Keontae George is a really, really good bench spark plug, probably. T Smart says, I feel like Miller is lottery just Jabari Smith Jr. I think Jabari Smith Jr. is a good player. So Josh Harris says, I hope if Hornets get top two, they package 27, 34, and 39 to move up to the teens. That's another team that could definitely make some moves this offseason. Frederick says Josh should come to Texas, less restrictions on gun laws. The issue isn't on gun laws. There was no gun laws in Georgia or Tennessee, wherever he was holding his gun. The issue is the NBA's perception is being shifted because of Ja Morant, and the NBA doesn't want to be looked at as a league full of gangsters, even though that's not what Ja Morant really is. That's the kind of social media message that's being sent, which is why the NBA doesn't like it. Project NBA says, hypothetically, if the Cavs wanted to trade Jared Allen, is pick 10 from Dallas too much to ask for? No. It's probably a semi-reasonable thing. Now, I think Cleveland maybe has to attach some stuff, like a second-round pick or two, and pick 10's kind of rich, but it's not out of the question, oh my gosh, hang up the phone type of issue. The Atlanta analyst says there's a reason Tommy Shepard got fired. Awful lottery picks. Yeah, he's not done a great job, and he just, I don't know. Some of his moves just don't really make that much sense. Right here says, would you be mad if the Mavs traded the first pick? Yeah. Oh my gosh. I would probably give up my fandom of Dallas if they did that. Texas Sports, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. Really appreciate you. Texas Sports have been watching the channel for so long. He and I always have great little comments and interactions going back and forth. So Tech Sports, someone I really respect here, and his thoughts on stuff, especially when it comes to the Houston Rockets. I like to hear his stuff, but he just overall, even outside of Texas, I think he's got a pretty good understanding of the league. So big shout out to him. Milo here says, do you think Ousmane Dieng gets much run next season? More than he did this year. I think Ousmane Dieng could be like a big-time breakout player next year. It's just there's going to be a lot of stuff that has to go back and, get it done. Zach says, people going back and admitting they were wrong is so rare, so respect to him and agree 100%. Healthy disagreements are what make talking sports fun. I've enjoyed our back and forth when I disagree. Yeah, exactly, Zach. That's exactly what I'm talking about. It's funny too, because I look back at some of my draft misses. Like 2021, my biggest miss was Franz Wagner. I think I really undersold his athleticism. I had him so low. Jalen Williams from this past draft, 2022. I literally am so mad at myself because I wrote in my final like draft big board guide that I posted on the channel. I literally wrote on there that I had him too low and that I should move him up higher, but I just didn't do it. And I'm just like so mad at myself because it's like astoundingly way too low. And then like if you go back to like 2018, one of mine that I was really wrong on was Trae Young. I just didn't think Trae Young was going to be that good because I thought he was too small. I thought defensively he's going to be really limited, and I thought he was going to turn over the ball way more than he has. He's done a really good job settling into the NBA. So those are three of my biggest misses. Two of them in the last two drafts, and then one of them a few drafts ago. But I also did think that Luka Doncic was significantly the best player in the draft that year too. So even with all my misses, there's still things I get right. But, you just try and limit those misses as much as possible. But sometimes you just don't see something happening and you end up getting it wrong. I was also low on Austin Reeves, to be honest. So I just couldn't find it. Atlanta Analyst says, I'm shocked you don't like George. I like Keontae can fill a nice 6-minute. I agree with that. I just think Case and Wallace is a starter. I think Nick Smith Jr. could be a starter. And I don't think Keontae George is a starter, which is why out of those three guys, I'm the lowest on him out of the three. Case and Wallace, high floor, underrated ceiling. I think I do agree with that, Zach, on the underrated ceiling. Case and Wallace is just smart. Here's the thing. You can watch all these players, and if you turn on highlights, there's players who blow you away athletically, this, that, and the other. Sometimes smarts and, basketball IQ is literally, the most important thing. If the guy literally knows what to do in situations, that's, 85% of the battle. Because the guys who don't have any – that's why I don't like Jordan Poole is because the guy doesn't understand time, score, or clock. And, what I mean by that is he doesn't understand, the magnitude of games. Jordan Poole, it'll be game 6 of the NBA playoffs or some series, and he's just playing like it's game 42 of the regular season. That this one possession doesn't matter. And even though Jordan Poole is a very talented player, for me, that frustrates me because I watch and does he even understand that he's playing with Steph Curry or Klay? Draymond Green, significantly lesser talented than a lot of other players in the league, but he understands how to play in a winning way. And that's why Draymond Green is a Hall of Fame player, because of his brain. And I really think that Case and Wallace is somebody who is very, very smart and does a lot of the right things and understands how to play the game. And for me, that just makes him a really, really good, intriguing prospect that I really like. Damian Cooper says, I'm calling it, this is the year where draft lottery has one or no lineup changes. Interesting. So he's thinking that we could see Detroit, Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte potentially in that order to pick this year. Definitely an interesting take, Damian, but I kind of like that vibe a little bit. I kind of like it. Suzanne here says, who's the most likely undrafted gem that the Heat find? Right now for undrafted, it's kind of hard to project that because the combine's still going on. It's going to change up a lot of that second round and what that's going to look like. But I do think first round, if Kobe Buffkin's there, that's going to be a massive steal for Miami at pick 18. So Mr. J says, if Orlando gets Wemby, does Franz play the 2 permanently, or does Wendell eventually get moved? I think Wendell would probably come off the bench if they got Victor Wembanyama. Otherwise, maybe they just play Giants. I don't really hate either outcome, honestly, for Orlando. I think that's something that I would need to give that some legitimate more time thinking about, and probably going back and just kind of looking at the lineups that they played this year, in terms of minutes played and 5-man groupings and stuff, to kind of really land on a decision that I like for what I would expect them to do. Brandon here says, let's go Blazers. Getting some of that Rip City hype in here. Zach says, my cousin's in 4th grade. His favorite player is Ja. That's why it's such a big issue. He looks up to him. Yeah, I think a lot of these players don't understand that like they're like literally role models to young kids. So, brandishing a firearm is probably not the best idea on Instagram Live. Jolene here says, Mavs moved to 6. Would you be okay value-wise? That was used for sec. So Jolene, it's actually not possible for the Mavericks to move up to 6. Only the top 4 picks of the draft lottery only the top 4 picks are done through the draft lottery. So the Mavericks will either pick 10th, or they'll pick in the top 4, or the pick will go to New York. If a team below them, say Chicago, Oklahoma City, Toronto, or New Orleans were to jump them. So that would be how the pick goes to New York. So Mavs can't pick 6, but if they move to 4, I would be okay if they traded that for Siakam. I'd be okay. I wouldn't love it, but I'd be okay. Project NBA says, if Jarrett for pick 10 trade happened, who would you like Cleveland to draft in that scenario? I'd like for them to draft shooting. Grady Dick would be fantastic for them. That's what I would like, but I just don't really know if that's like something that they should actually do. I think if Cleveland's smart, what they'll do is they'll trade into the second round a couple times this year and take stabs at a guy like Amani Bates if he's there. They're going to take a couple stabs at just some of these perimeter guys, maybe like a Kobe Brown. Could make a lot of sense for them. Like there's some options there in the second round that could really help that team, and they just need more wing depth and wing shooting. And if they can find that, like in the second round, that's what I would really look to do. I'm not even hating on Keontae George. I'm not hating on Keontae. Keontae George is going to be top 20 on my big board. I like Keontae George. Okay, that's just. The guy shot 39% from the field. I just don't know if he's a starting level player. Keontae is most definitely a starter. Just depends on the team, but he can be a good 6-man on a certain team. That's great. Yeah, I agree. I'm not being harsh on Keontae George. I think Keontae George fits a very clear role in the NBA, which is 6-man scoring type, kind of like what Cole Anthony does. And I think that's a really good thing to have. It's not a knock on him. Just not every single player in the league is a starter. Like one of my favorite players of all time is Jason Terry, and he was better off the bench than he was as a starter because the team had a huge advantage that way. That's a good thing to do. Felipe says Nets could move some players and picks to have a lottery prospect. They have picks 21 and 22 that they could trade to move up into the lottery if they wanted to. That's also something if Dallas wanted to move out of 10 to get 2 picks, 21 and 22 plus some other stuff would maybe be interesting to me as well. Goyo here says both Spurs and Rockets have great history with big men. Yes, they do. John here says, how would Wemby fit on the Rockets? Sounds like a future dynasty. He'd fit in very, very well. I think Ime Udoka would use him phenomenally defensively. Curtis here says, what's my prediction on pick number 1? My prediction here, Spurs, Rockets, Pistons, Pacers. And again, if you are interested in seeing those first pick odds, that is down at the bottom on the little ticker that we got on the stream. Deshaun here wants to know Jordan Poole trade ideas. Deshaun, I actually have a video up on the channel talking about Jordan Poole trade possibilities, things that I think the Warriors should consider. Jordan Poole, still a young player, still has some upside. I think a lot of other teams would be interested in adding him, but I think the Warriors should look at moving off of him. Right here says, just seeing what Jordan Walsh looks like. No, I'm going to have to pass. He had alopecia, okay? Jordan Walsh is a good player. He's a good prospect. He's a really, really good point of attack defender who's very, very quick and lengthy. I like Jordan Walsh quite a bit. Habit here says, Jaw's been making horrible decisions. I just hope he wises up. He's still a young kid. Hopefully he gets it together quickly. That's what I'm hoping for. I am cheering for that myself. Cade here says, if Thunder stay at 12, who should they take? If the Oklahoma City Thunder stay at 12, they should hope for Grady Dick to be there. Otherwise, I wouldn't hate Cason Wallace for them. I think Gigi Jackson would not be a very good pick. Honestly, I don't like Gigi Jackson that much. Otherwise, though, there's a few players like that I would consider. I don't know. Grady Dick's really the guy that I like the most, though. Cameron here says, bro, my Portland Trailblazers get luck for once. Go number 1. I'll be so happy because we got to build from the draft because nobody comes to Portland like a big name. So please remember, Brandon Roy is going to be there representing the Portland Trailblazers tonight. And last time he did that, Greg Oden. Sorry. Ray says, would you trade 2, 3, or 4 plus filler for Mikal Bridges, or rather pick Scoot or Miller or Thompson? I would probably trade 3 or 4 for Mikal Bridges if it was like a 1-for-1. I don't think I would throw a lot of filler in there for Mikal Bridges. I think I would be willing to trade 3 or 4. But for 2, I'm not trading 2 for Mikal Bridges. Marco here says, what's your prediction on Hawks' 15th pick? Obviously kind of shapes up by what the lottery looks like, but I think Chris Murray's someone that makes a lot of sense right now. Mel says, I don't know what you're doing right now, but I'm hitting that like button because I like this guy. Make sure you guys smash that like button if you have been enjoying. Not Your Average 10K says, some of these players need to stay in college. Not everyone deserves to be drafted. It's already too many players in the league. Then G League already had a lot of players. Yes, sir. That's true. There is a lot of guys that I do think would be better staying off in college. William says, liked and subscribed. You, sir. Thank you so much for that. Atlanta Analyst says Jordan Walsh is going to be really good and a really good kid. Yeah, I think Jordan Walsh is going to have a really nice career ahead of him. I'm excited for Jordan Walsh. David here says, Nembhard, Jackson, and Cavs first from Pacers to Warriors for Kuminga. Interesting. I'd like that if I'm Indiana. Ray said he's got to be Charlie V's long-lost son. It's kind of funny. Pedro here says, do you think the Pelicans should explore Zion trade packages? Not yet. I think it's a little too soon to do that. Papega says, does Hendricks' measurements make him unplayable at the 5? No, because the film suggests he's playable at the 5. The film, like, at the end of the day, like, are you gonna base everything off of what a tape measure told you or what the actual guy playing basketball tells you? And for me, like, Draymond Green is too small to play the 5, but he's smart and understands how to actually do that, and he's found a lot of success doing that. So to me, that makes sense. Taste the Truth says, where do you think Nick Smith Jr. will go? I think he'll go 10th overall to whoever has that pick. Chris says, who's better in your opinion, Amen or Ausar Thompson? I think Amen Thompson is significantly better. Jay here says, who do you see OKC going out and getting, assuming they don't move up? Again, for Oklahoma City, I see them going out and getting Grady Dick. That'd be the player I'd watch the most. Leonard Miller rumors and mocks all over the place. Some say he could go as high as 10. Others say around 30. Where do you think he ends up going? As of right now, I've been mostly talking about Leonard Miller as like a late 20s pick. But I am going to say this, that in my next mock coming out, there's a potential opportunity that he could get drafted by the Oklahoma City Thunder in the lottery. I'm not saying it's going to happen, okay? But I would not completely rule it out. I would not completely rule it out. Joshua Bile says, what superstar would you trade for Wemby? A lot of them. A lot of them. Zach Aldridge says, hot take, but I predict 60 players get drafted. That's actually wrong, Zach, which is funny because remember the NBA stripped 2 second-round picks this year, so there's only going to be 58 draft picks because instead of the NBA deciding to like properly handle tampering, they just decide to strip 2 young men of their dream of being drafted in the NBA for no reason. So like teams are like, oh no, not our second round pick getting stripped away. They don't even care. And they should just, the NBA should like massively find them and do different things than what they've done. Ray says, I've seen Taylor Hendricks mocked as high as 4. I don't think he gets to 4 unless like the right team is there that like really needs him. But I just don't really see that. Michael Thomas says, do you think Harden going back to the Rockets would stop them from drafting Scoot? No, the Rockets would draft Scoot. Sleepers in this draft. I think Amani Bates, Brandon Pajemski, to name a few. There's a lot. I'm going to have a video out on the channel at some point. Shout out to Ryan Hillier, became a YouTube member once again. Ryan's been a YouTube member for quite a while. So big shout out to my members. Big J52, I know is an awesome member as well. There's a lot of them on the channel. So really appreciate them. It helps me continue to make content the way that I do, and really just helps support the channel and see some of that money that goes into the channel. It just goes a long way in helping support things and kind of bettering the content that comes out on the channel, especially graphically. Ryan here says, just realized I lost my membership somehow. I had to renew that because you're the GOAT. Ryan, you're the GOAT. Always love talking some hoops with you. Zach says, my heart would ache if we traded Nembhard, but Kuminga would be great here. I think Kuminga would be really, really fun in Indiana. Jay says, who are some good prospects for the Jazz to add in? I think the Jazz are going to look for a variety of pieces. I think that they just go best player available at their pick. So, like, could be Keontae George. Could, like, and not at 9, but at 16, it could be Keontae George. There's like a lot of options out there. Anthony Black makes a lot of sense to me too for them. Cam Whitmore, if he fell, would be like a dream come true for them, I think. So, Josh here says, is Wemby going to Charlotte? Worst case scenario for the league as a whole? No. If you're talking about money wise, like, going to Charlotte would probably be good because you get like a lot of league interest on a team that doesn't have a lot of it right now. But if you're talking like worst case for the league in terms of like competitive balance would be Oklahoma City getting Wembanyama, because they would probably win a title within the next 2 years, and then they'd probably never look back and continue to win and win and win and win. But like for a money perspective, like I understand what you're saying. I think Washington would be kind of rough though, like honestly, money wise. I don't know. I think that Wembanyama is going to have such a pull though that he's going to end up really not making this an issue. Chris says, who do you think the Kings should get at 24? A lot of good options for them. Like Chris Murray would be funny, right? Because he'd be playing with Keegan. I don't think he'll be there though. So I think, like a Jet Howard, if he's at that spot, could make sense. I think just you're mainly looking at the wing. So Ryan Rupert, Jet Howard, Arthur Kaluma. That's maybe a little high for Kaluma, but he shot really well yesterday, which was important for him in the combine. So I don't know. Ray here says way too early all rookie first team prediction. I'm going to have on there for sure Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, Scoot Henderson. That's my first team so far is those three guys. And then fourth and fifth. Let's go with Brandon Miller. And let's go with, I'm going to say it, Anthony Black, I think would be my fifth guy. Zach, it's funny. I'm not going to put your comments on the screen, but it's funny because like what you said is like so obvious, right? That it would be, that there's 60 players. Your comment was funny. It's crazy because like all these picks get stripped, and it's just stupid because it, first of all, it makes my job harder here covering the draft, because you're just like, oh yeah, by the way, there's 2 less picks for no reason really. And it's just like, it ruins young guys' chances of getting drafted, which is just stupid. Deshaun says, chances Amani plays his way into the first round or has his reputation labeled him as a second round pick. I think he's a likely second round pick, unless if he plays really, really well during the 5-on-5 work for like the combine scrimmages, then he could maybe elevate into a back into the first round guy. I think that he's going to be a really, really nice player in the league, though. I think he's going to have a nice impact long term. Josh here says, do you think there will be a dramatic jump and we'll cover the draft lottery tonight? Yeah, I will cover the draft lottery tonight. I will be live like I am now. We'll be doing something similar, but there'll be audio from the draft lottery in the background. And then also, do I think there'll be a dramatic jump? I don't really believe so. I think the most dramatic would be the Pacers moving up. That's my prediction as of right now. But if there is, please, Lord, make it be the Dallas Mavericks. Please. Not your average 10K says, why is there so many picks in the draft when it's only 30 teams with only so many roster spots? I mean, it's only 2. It's only 2 picks per team, essentially. Thomas Poole says, you are the GOAT NBA analyst on YouTube. Well, I appreciate that, Thomas. I've got a lot of fun plans for this for the channel long term, so I'm excited. Efren here says, Jarris Walker or Taylor Hendricks. I prefer Taylor Hendricks myself, just narrowly. I think that I think that Taylor Hendricks is a little bit less skilled than Jarris Walker, but I think he has a clearer fit into the NBA. Guilty here says, Doc Rivers fired 215 days after his B-Day. Stuck on 215 career postseason wins, 20-15 postseason record with Philly, and Philly is the 215 area code. Hashtag NBA script. I don't know if any of those things are true. I have not done any of the research on any of that. But if that's true, holy cow, that's an all-time great comment there from Guilty. Brian says, nice not seeing my Kings in the lottery. Praying for a savior. Yes, they've done great. It's nice for the Kings. I'm happy for them. John here says, would OG to Indy for pick 726 be realistic value? I think that you'd have to give up a little bit more, to be honest. Project NBA says Amani Bates is a fun play style to watch, but I don't know if he will impact winning. I agree, Project, with the way that he's played in college so far. His style will not win in the NBA, but my assumption is he gets to the NBA and gets told, look, we're not going to have you as an isolation player. You're going to occasionally get to isolate, probably as a six-man scoring type, but your real role on the team next to a star is to space the heck out of the floor and catch and shoot the rock like Michael Porter Jr. does. And I think Michael Porter Jr. has proven to be a big-time winning player, and I want to know why Amani Bates can't be semi-similar to that. Not that he will be that, but why can't he be similar? I think that's really the thing we're looking for. Versace says, is it possibility the Nets trade into the top 10 since they have 21 and 22? Probably not into the top 10. Les Dominguez says, you are the guy I'm coming to when anything like this is going on. NBA draft, lottery, all-star, etc. Well, Les, I'm glad that you are enjoying the content here. Make sure you guys are all liked up and subscribed to the channel too, so you don't miss out on more future content. Joshua Bile says, who could be the steal of the draft? I think realistically, Amani Bates is the guy that really fits that criteria for me. Dariq Whitehead, I think, could fill into that as well. Trace Jackson Davis, I think, is going to be a fantastic addition to whoever drafts him, especially if he goes in the second round. Oh, my goodness. Zach Aldridge here saying NBA expansion soon. I 100% believe that. Ryan Hillier says, what are the chances someone slips a few extra Raptors balls in the mix and the Raptors walk away with picks 1, 2, and 3? Well, that would be not possible, but it's kind of funny. Random here says you should drop a post-lottery mock ASAP after it's done. Casuals will hop on YouTube and see who will be available for their team. You'll stack views. Yeah, I was already planning on doing that, actually. I had a little banner here ready that I was going to have a mock draft come out tonight. I'm actually probably going to stay live here for another half hour or so from this point. And then I'm going to actually start kind of getting some prep work done for that mock, just so that I'm kind of ready for it. And then I'm going to probably try and rationalize where I want to place players. I'm going to go through a lot of the options in my head because remember, I'm going to go live again later today. Probably, let me think. The draft lottery is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. What time should I go live again later today? Should I you guys just let me know what time should I go live again based on Eastern time. Tell me how many hours before the draft. Jay here says landing spots for CD Sissoko. He'll be a high second round pick is my guess. So Edgar here says, calling it now, the Pacers will get the number 1 pick. Zach here says, you're going to actually make me do work by ending the live. Yeah, sorry. At some point I'm going to. Here, William says 7 p.m. Eastern time, so an hour before. I might do a little bit earlier even. Maybe we could even go through kind of some more lottery simulations. I might do a little bit earlier than 7. 1.5 hours before. Ray's here saying half an hour prior to the live. Remember, too, if I go live earlier, you can just come in before. You can come in whenever you're ready for, right? So even if I go live at say 6:30 Eastern, maybe you just hop in at 7:30 Eastern if that's what you want to do. Not your average 10K here saying 7:45. We could do that too. Trace Jackson Davis to the Pacers, like his father Dale Davis, a Pacers legend. Trace Jackson Davis would be really, really good for Indiana. I actually do believe that. Les Dominguez says SGA, Giddy, Dub. J-Dub, Chet, Wemby will be the greatest team ever assembled. It literally would be. They would be absolutely insane. ATG Rico says 5 Eastern. Whoa, okay. Maybe won't go live that early. But 6:30 I'll be here. Yeah, let's plan on probably 6:30 Eastern time then. So that gives me quite a few hours. Right now it's 2 p.m. Eastern time, so 4.5 hours to kind of work on some lottery or draft stuff and getting some content ready for tomorrow. Abe says, I will wake up at 4:30 a.m. to watch your stream. Look at that. This is what we call dedication right here. Shout out to Abe. Huge fan. Lance says 7 p.m. You are already live now. I know I'm live, yeah, but we're going to go live again later. I'm not going to stream literally all day long. I have done that before. I think the longest duration I've ever streamed for was 14 hours in a row. Ryan here saying, go live as soon as you end this live, bro. Yeah, I've literally done that before. Oh man, what was it? I think it was, I'm pretty sure I was live streaming for DeJounte Murray with like the trade rumors that he could potentially get traded. It was either like Minnesota, Atlanta, or one other team. And then I ended my live stream because I thought, okay, nothing's going to actually happen tonight. I thought it was going to kind of trickle into the next day. And then literally I ended the stream, and 3 minutes later he got traded. So I had to restart the entire stream, which I was a little mad because I could have just been live when it happened, but it is what it is. David here says, take a nap. Jason here says, assuming 4 out of the 5 Rockets starting lineup returns, that leaves small forward as the question mark. Am I nuts for wanting Cam over the Thompson twins? Jarris, if we miss out on Wemby or Scoot. Cam, like Whitmore, I don't think that's crazy. I think Cam Whitmore would be really nice. It's just like, I don't know. I still think that like Amen Thompson might be better. Cole says pre-draft live stream last year on draft day was wild. Yeah, the live streams have been so much fun. Here we go. Ray says 24-hour celebration stream if we land Wembanyama. That's something I'm down for. I'm down for that. Lindsay says pick one Houston Rockets, Victor Wembanyama. We'll see if that actually happens. Random says Jalen Hood, Shafino, Agbaji, Laurie, Wemby, Kessler. That would be a really, really good core for the Utah Jazz moving forward. Carson says, do you see the Blazers trading for a star if they get a top 3 pick? Probably not. Not top 3. If they get top 2, I think that it's probably that they trade. It's probable they would trade Damian Lillard in that case. If it's second, if they get number 1, they don't trade anything or anybody. And if they get 3 or 4, then they probably trade it for a star. Zach Aldridge says, I work 700 hours a week, so I'll be at my other job right until the lotto starts, but I'll try to catch the stream at work. Zach, appreciate that. I know you're, working your tail off as a college kid, so I totally understand that. That was me just a couple of years ago. Not your average 10K says 14 hours is wild, but that's for real motivation. Yeah, I put in, the amount of hours I've streamed on YouTube is probably an ungodly amount that I don't even want to picture or think about because it just makes me wonder, like, oh, what could I have done with all of that time? But that's how committed I am. That's how much I love talking about basketball. So I don't regret it for a second. I really don't. It's a lot of fun. Easy Ball says, funny if Washington lands Wemby. If Washington lands Wembanyama, it would be very, very good. Let's do another lottery sim. Let's go ahead, simulate the lottery here now. And let's see exactly what it is. 5 hours until the draft lottery. I don't think that's exactly right even. But interesting. Orlando 1. Portland 2, Washington 3, Rockets 4. Spurs keep falling, man. Spurs keep falling in this, which is definitely interesting. So there's a lot of crazy things that could happen for sure. Papega says, why can't Jarris Walker be a Draymond type player with more floor? I think he protects the rim a little bit worse, which is why Papega. And I think Jarris Walker could be really, really good. I just don't think he protects the rim as much. And I think his perimeter 3-point shooting is not as good as not Cam Whitmore, as Taylor Hendricks, which is why I prefer Hendricks a little bit. But I think Jarris Walker is really, really good. I think most drafts, Jarris Walker is probably a top 3 pick. So that's how good this draft is, honestly. Look at this. This user's name is Wembanyama will be a Rocket tonight. Says, I have faith Wemby will be a Rocket. My question is, what would the Rockets have to do to help Wemby reach his ceiling? Or would they have to trade some pieces for Wemby to shine? No, I don't think they'd have to trade pieces. I think that they would try to add to their team and put him in competitive situations right away. Rapid here says Spurs are destined to get Wemby. It just feels right. Barlow Carlo says Houston is a dumpster fire that needs to pray for a top 2 pick and or Harden. Yeah, I think and Harden is the big thing. A top pick and Harden would be huge for them. Atlanta Alice says Wizards should hire me as their GM. It'd be better than what Tommy Shepard did. Michael Orlando said absolute best scenario right here with Orlando moving up to 1. I knew Michael Orlando was going to be hyped about that. Name here says hope Mavs jump to the top 4 just to see how much Bill Simmons cries about Naismith rolling over in his grave. Dude, Bill Simmons, I even quote tweeted him today. Reminder, links in the description to the Twitter. Go hit us up with the follow on there if you haven't already. But Bill Simmons, man, makes me crabby. He's just a narrative follower, honestly. David here says Blazers number 2. We are trading this pick. Definitely a possibility. Texas Sports says dumpster fires can keep you warm when it's cold outside. That's true. It does do that. I just don't know how cold it gets in Houston, Texas. So I'm not sure if the Rockets need any more dumpster fires. Cersei Cat says Raptors need Scoot. He would go a long way in helping that team. Easy Ball says cheeky rig for getting Doncic and Wemby on the same team. That would be absolutely insane. Philip says, what do you think about Amani Bates? I am always a sleeper. I agree. I think he's a sleeper too. I think Amani Bates is a talented player who has a clear role in the NBA. It's just about buying into it. Zodiac GM, been watching the channel for quite a while. Shout out to you, Zodiac GM. Says, Wemby to Orlando will actually be the best fit for Victor. Zodiac chemistry will be elite for Orlando, which can translate to a playoff team. You heard it there first. Jay says, who could you see the Spurs taking if they pick at 4 or beyond? Fourth, I would see them taking Brandon Miller or Amin Thompson, whichever of the two is available. Fifth, I would see Jarris Walker. Sixth, I would see Cam Whitmore. And seventh, I would see Anthony Black, I think. Six, Canada says Raptors get the number 1 pick. It's over. Definitely would be pretty scary. Apkitch says, if the Mavs stay at 10, do you think Leonard Miller's stock might go high enough to go there? The positional value is iffy for the Mavs if they still at 10. I think the Mavs would trade pick 10 if they're still there. Deshaun, with 2 picks the Blazers have this year, do you think they let Cam Reddish and Jeremy Grant walk, draft Thompson and GG, then maybe trade Dame to the Nets, or those 3 Pacers picks this year plus more? I think that the Blazers probably keep Jeremy Grant on an overpay, honestly. That's what I think is most likely to happen. Opal says, as a Blazers fan, we're trading that pick for Mikal Bridges. Could see that. Zodiac GM says, Atlanta, Memphis, Zodiac chemistry will be elite for both teams if Trae Young got traded for John Morant. I don't know if John Morant spending more time in Georgia is going to be good for him, though, personally. Goyle Falcon says Detroit is a dumpster fire. They don't know how to develop players. Well, they have a new head coach, or they're going to have a new head coach now. So Carson says, where do you see Anthony Black going? To a lucky team is what I see. It's really hard right now because we don't know the order, but like Washington, if they got him, would be fantastic with him. Like not that they'd be fantastic, but he'd be fantastic for them. Jesse here says, praying Houston gets number 1 instant playoff contenders. And where would I like to see Anthony Black go? I'd love to see him go to the Dallas Mavericks. I'd like to watch him there. I think G.G. Jackson needs to stay in college too, in my opinion, but, it's okay. He's semi-ready. Osman says, which teams do you think will trade up or down potentially during the draft? I think teams that would trade during the draft, definitely Portland, definitely Dallas. I think that Oklahoma City would maybe look to move up. I think Utah would maybe look to move up. And I think possibly Orlando could look to move up as well if there's a player they really like. What's my ideal spot for GG? I don't really have one as of right now. I think right now it's like GG Jackson's like one of the toughest players to really project because he's a big-time boomer bust player. And to be honest, I'm a little bit lower on him than a lot of other people. So because of that, like, I don't know if I have like a ideal spot for him. I don't know. Brent here says Jazz willing to trade Victor Wembanyama if they get lucky. Jazz like to trade their stars. I don't think that the Utah Jazz will trade the first pick. Jesse says, do you think Houston still picks if they get 4 or lower? Yeah, I think so. Apkitch says, at this point through the combine, do you think Grant Nelson has a guaranteed round 2 pick, or does he go back to college? So he shot pretty well, and of course, athletically, he's kind of freaky. So, like, to me, in my brain, it makes sense that he would be a guaranteed round 2 pick, but at the same time, you just never actually really know. Like, is there stuff to work with there with him? Yes, but as a basketball player, is he a top 58 player in this draft right now? Probably not. So, for me, Grant Nelson, I think, is good. I don't know if he's going to have, like, the pathway to get there, though. Blunts says, let's see what the Spurs haters think. Victor Wembanyama overhyped. I don't think so. Yeah, literally, Victor Wembanyama, like, he's going to reshape the future of the league, which is awesome. Goyo says, if Houston doesn't draft top 2, they will trade for Jaylen Brown and Harden. Why would the Celtics do that? If the Rockets don't have a top 2 pick, why would the Celtics say, yeah, we don't want Jaylen Brown anymore? I just don't think that's going to happen, to be honest. Gary here says, where do you see Christian Wood landing? Wizards? I could see Portland. on like a mid-level. I could see Toronto, New Orleans, maybe. No, not New Orleans. Definitely not New Orleans. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of Christian Wood suitors out there, in my opinion. I feel like would the Celtics actually trade Jaylen Brown? If so, what is the expected return? A lot would be the return, and I don't think they're going to trade him. The fact that he made All NBA means he's going to sign a Supermax extension there. Chum wants to know, what time is the lottery? The lottery is at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Brandon here says, sorry if I missed it earlier. Did you have a prediction for who lands Monty? Not yet. I have not. I need to sit down and actually think about this coaching carousel now after some of these coaches got fired after the second round. So I don't have a good one. I just don't like getting on the internet and just saying stuff to say it. So if I don't have a decently thought out idea, I just don't really want to throw it out there. So because of that, I'm just not going to say, oh, well, Monty Williams is going to go here, because I just don't have a good feel. I think Milwaukee would like him. I think Philly will like him, but I can't say oh, he's going to for sure coach here at this spot as of right now. You wouldn't have to trade for Harden. You would sign Harden. So Reese says, I'm praying for Wemby to OKC. Instant contenders, fact or cap? Instant contenders, fact. Brent says, so many teams lost and their stars just didn't get it done. Yeah, that's just how it is. When teams win, other teams have to lose. Jesse says, what do you think the ceiling is next season if Houston gets Wemby and Harden? Ceiling is probably a good playoff team. Maybe not even winning a series, but just good team that makes playoffs. And what would you want from Pacers for pick 10? Give me Tyrese Halliburton. No, I'm just kidding. That's not going to happen, obviously. I just don't think the Mavericks and Pacers have stuff that lines up very well for a trade. Apkitch says, did you hear about Bobby Clinton getting a promise? What team do you think offered it to him? I thought Bobby Clinton was going back to, I thought he withdrew from the NBA draft. Is that not accurate? Let me look this up quick. Bobby Clinton draft. Oh, nope. I guess it was. Oh, I misread the report on so he withdrew from the draft combine. Yeah, so that the fact that he got a promise is speculation, because typically players don't withdraw from the draft. Now, I wouldn't necessarily believe that for sure. That's happened before. So I would be careful about that. Icy Dump in the chat. Welcome, Icy Dump. He's been watching the channel for a long time, so shout out to them. Some of these coaches shouldn't be fired, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I agree with that. Pedro says, who do you think the Knicks will get if the Mavs pick isn't 10? Knicks will look at Case and Wallace, Grady Dick, or trading the pick, I would think. Does Doc Rivers find another job in the NBA? Not for a year. I think he probably doesn't get a job for a year. Random says, if Luka requests trade, where would you like to see him? I'd like to see him stick in Dallas. As a Doncic and Mavericks fan myself, I would like to see him stay in Dallas. Not your average 10K says DeAndre Ayton is the Suns' problem and the lack of defense and real depth. Yeah, they need to make some moves. They're going to be aggressive this offseason. Project NBA says, do you think Chris Quinn will be a good head coach one day? Yes, maybe even the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. I wouldn't rule that out. Capo says, who else saw that Doc firing move coming? No coach is safe. I saw it coming. Just they haven't made it past the second round in the last 5 years. Brent Burnett says, many good players can be better than gun-toting stars. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Kyle says, I have a strong feeling the number one pick will go to someone out of the top 4. Interesting take. I think that's a real possibility. Yeah, so this is, yeah, I had misread the report yesterday that he had withdrew from the combine. Obviously I knew that, but I just read it as he withdrew from the draft and that he was not going to return to college. I thought he was going to do some other pro. I thought maybe the NBL could have been in his future, but I just completely misread that. So that's my apologies on that. So thank you guys for actually clearing that up for me. So I'll have to look a little bit more at Bobby Clinton and see where he could potentially have gotten promised, to be honest, because he did not have really a great college career in terms of his numbers and stuff. So Jack says, who didn't see it coming? The Sixers looked awfully coached. Yeah, they weren't that good coached, but yeah, the Doc firing I thought was pretty guaranteed. Will the Jazz draft 3 times in the first or trade a pick away? I think it would be most likely for them to trade a pick, maybe even package some picks together to move up. Landon here says, how would you feel if the Chicago Bulls got Wemby? It would really save their franchise. Really would. Jesse Cooper says, do you think Harden's coming back to Houston? I do believe that. T says, Jarris Walker does all the little things so great, can potentially have impact on Draymond level. Why does he get overlooked by so many people? I'm not sure. For me, I've been mocking him 5th overall in a lot of the most recent mocks I've had. I think that there's a chance he pushes up to number 4 even if the right team gets that pick, which we'll see tonight. Apkish says, Clinton probably got a promise from either Memphis or Indiana. Memphis never goes by consensus, and Indy has 3 picks, so probs one of them. You could also look at Utah. Utah has 3 picks too, so you could argue that. I mean, Charlotte has 2 picks. You could also look at the Clippers. They typically don't go off of consensus, so you know that's just kind of how it is, though, right? So it's funny too, because like for Clinton, I mean, I don't know, he played. Yeah, I mean, he averaged 5 points a game, 4.5 rebounds, and less than 1 assist. Now I know he's a 6'10" player, and he's played at Sunrise Christian and that kind of stuff, but I don't know. Interesting. Comby says, is tonight not that interesting just because of the consensus Victor picks? Draft starts at 2. No, it's especially interesting because of the consensus Victor pick, because you have 14 teams in here literally praying to get the first overall pick, which is what makes it super, super interesting. I think this is going to be the most interesting draft lottery ever. Now it makes the first overall pick of the draft less interesting because we all know what's going to happen, but it makes the draft lottery like the most important we've ever seen, probably. Cole Great says, also didn't feel like Jarris got as many touches as he should have. Yeah, I agree. That's part of playing with Marcus Sasser, though, right? Like, Houston had a lot of good talent. Do I think either of the Thompson twins could go in the top 3? I think Amen could potentially go 3rd if things go right. If things go right, that could definitely be a possibility. Mel, who wants to be a part of the losing team? That's why I joined a winner in utility sports. You can too. Hit that like button and join the team. Well, thank you, Mel, for that. Appreciate that. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Deshaun says, prediction, Lakers draft Jett Howard. His dad coaches LeBron in Miami, and they draft Amari Bailey since he played with LeBron's son. Interesting. Possible. Does Pajemski go first round? You're the only person I've seen with him as high on the big board as anyone else. Hope you're right about him. Yeah, I think he goes first round. He's had a really good start to the combine too for himself. The draft lottery, so policeman, the draft is not for over a month yet, but the draft lottery is in about 5.5 hours. Brent Burnett says, should Suns dump Chris Paul to Jazz for Clarkson and Gay plus 2024 first round pick? No, I don't think so. I think the Suns should not do that. Mike F says, going with your gut, which do you predict will land first overall? And for me, it has been this feeling all year long. I think the San Antonio Spurs will be picking first overall this year. That's just kind of the feel I have for it. Make sure you guys do check out some of the other videos on the channel as well. Real quick, I am going to go back over to Tankathon because I like Tankathons a little bit better, actually, just because it's a little bit like I feel like it's laggy on the stream. So let's reset this. Let's take one final look here at kind of the lottery here. So we're 5 hours, 41 minutes away from the NBA draft lottery. Okay, May 16th, 2023, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And let's look at the odds here. Detroit, 52% chance to be picking top 4 and a 14% chance to pick first overall. That is the same exact odds as both San Antonio and Houston here, who are the top 3 teams when it comes to lottery odds to actually get the first overall pick, 14% chance. Then Charlotte, 12.5% chance to land Victor. Portland, Orlando, Washington, Indiana, all in order as well here. These odds are actually backwards. Indiana has a 6.8% chance and Washington has a 6.7% chance. Not sure how they screwed this up, but they did. It's okay. Also, this Orlando and OKC one is backwards too. So Like, is Tankathon the best website? No, but it's entertaining. It's fun to look at. And let's simulate the lottery one more time here. I want to know down in the comment section below, who do you think is going to get the first overall pick? I'm so excited. Jack, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you in here. Funny comment. Let's go ahead and simulate the lottery now. San Antonio. Oh my gosh, Pacers fans, you guys can't believe it, I'm sure. San Antonio moves up to first overall. Detroit slides down to 2. Indiana at 3. Washington at 4. In what is a crazy shift. Jack here says T-Wolves. Yeah, they won't be worrying about draft lotteries for quite a while, I don't think. But the draft lottery here is this is our final sim here, probably. I'm going to do one out on the Twitter as well. Just a reminder to actually go leave a like on this video. Also, I'm going to send the Twitter link right now in the chat. I would really recommend going and giving us a follow on Twitter. That would be really greatly appreciated. Please hit that link and go follow us on Twitter. I'll be even shouting out some people who follow us on Twitter here in the next couple of minutes. So go give us a follow and you will get a big shout out. I'm watching for it on my phone right now. So let's see exactly what's going on. But I'm really excited for tonight. I really am. I'm probably going to conclude the live stream here in the next 10 minutes or so. But it's been a lot of fun looking at these lottery odds and where some of these teams could potentially pick, kind of prepping for tonight a little bit. Let's zoom in a little bit more here and just see, look, San Antonio, Detroit, Indiana, Washington, Houston, Charlotte, Portland, Orlando, Utah, Dallas keeps pick 10, OKC, Orlando, Toronto, New Orleans. So definitely very interesting. Project NBA 1 now following on Twitter. Huge shout out to Project NBA 1. Watching hoops is a passion of mine. Mine too, honestly. I love watching hoops, and kind of crazy that it's already here. Abe also hits the follow button as well, so huge shout out to them. K-Pron hit the follow as well. Thank you to them. Derek R. Un fanático de la NBA y NFL. Interesante. Interesting that Robert wasn't able to type in the chat. Comby now following as well. Shout out to Comby. Graham McComb. That's hype. Shout out to you for hitting that follow button. Appreciate that. Make sure you guys all go follow Finland. Or is that Finn? B-Rad, Big Murph as well. Thank you for the follow. MSN. Looks like a... it seems like someone from across the pond, honestly, who hit the follow button. So thank you guys all so much for tuning into this live stream. I've had a lot of fun. Remember, we are going to have a lot of content coming out. Remember, I'm going live again 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. So that is just 4 hours from now. So it's not that long. We'll take a little 4-hour break. I'm going to do some prep work for some videos that have to come out. Going to kind of re-prep myself, go through all the stuff that I got to go through to prep for tomorrow. And tonight, I want to know your guys' predictions for the top 4 right now. Remember, NBA mock draft coming out tonight as well after the lottery. So there's going to be a lot to tune in for. Abe, thank you so much for following on Twitter. Really appreciate that. Draft is 5 hours away or so, okay? It's about 5.5 hours away. So make sure you stick around for that. Got exams, but still watching the draft lottery. Love that. Redo the situation. We're going to be doing more of these a little bit later on today, so make sure you guys come back for the other one. Zetuan says, not gonna lie, I want Washington wins just so I can watch this man live. Definitely understand that. Abe says it's 4 a.m. I'll try my best to wake up. Abe, would love to have you in here again if you can be. Zach says can't give a prediction until I get confirmation from KP that you'll be our representative. Yeah, get Pritchard on the line right now. Let's get me there to Chicago ASAP. Brent Burnett says Jazz should have traded Clarkson because he's opting out. Yes, I think he will, but he could re-up with the organization. Ryan Hillier says, great stream, bro. See you at 6:30 Eastern time. Remember, Eastern time, 6:30 Eastern time is when I will be live again. Turn on that notification bell if you guys haven't already. That way you should get updates. Abe saying, I will not sleep today. I love the dedication. huge thank you to you guys too. All of you, I really, really do appreciate stopping in here, spending some time. Just a quick reminder, this is my prediction. Down on the ticker, my prediction: Spurs, Rockets, Pistons, Pacers. I'd love to hear your guys' predictions down in the comment section. Thanks again so much for watching. Really do appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.